Hello everybody and welcome to This Nintendo Life episode 312. My name is NBZ and they tried to claim me and take me down to the depths of hell, but motherfuckers, you can't take me that easily because I'm here, I'm alive, I'm back, and I'm ready to talk about video games. Unfortunately, 2025 is gone. We missed it. The train left the station, but Bally thankfully waited for me at the station so that we could do this episode, which was supposed to be out a while ago, but unfortunately it has been delayed because I was murdered by the outside world. Decided it wasn't enough. I think it's probably Bally's children who made me ill. Is the real theory here? Because I did only...
They made you ill, but haven't made anyone else ill. You're the only victim.
No, apparently not. I'm the single victim. It was, I think Bally Jr., he just didn't like his present enough and he was mad and so he enacted vengeance upon me.
Okay, you got to tell people what you got Bally Jr.
Sure, yeah. So I got him his favorite character in the world. I gave him Mr. Kirby. I got him. So actually there are a couple of things. There are a couple of things that were sitting around in my drawers because when I went to Japan last year, I got a bunch of gachapon and I was planning on like taking them, giving to people in the office, whatever, and then I never did, and so I had a bunch of random ones left over, and a couple of them were Kirby themed, so I was like, oh, this is great. So I had a little pouch, like a little purse, which was a pink purse that had Kirby's face on it. I was like, oh, he'd like that, you can put some shit in that. And then also a little a Waddle Doo, we discovered it was called, which is one of the enemies in Kirby, who's the enemy with the
but Bally Jr. called him Waddle Poo initially.
Of course, yeah. And that is the guy who like has the electric eyeball, like the spinning electric eyeball that I think you can get as a power up when you eat him.
Who I don't think is in Forgotten Land.
Right, and I was kind of surprised by that. I was like, oh, surely you recognize this guy, and I don't think he did. He was like, oh, who is this? And I was like, oh, this is it's an enemy from Kirby, right?
Okay, I have a number of stories. I think we just need a little segment here just to quickly talk about Bally Jr. and your experience playing with him.
Yeah. Sure.
First of all, we beat Kirby in the Forgotten Land. Bally Jr.
Oh, congratulations.
Beat
well done.
3 games in 2025, I should say. Astrobot, Astro's Playroom, and Kirby in the Forgotten Land.
Now, Bally, where's his backloggery account at? Has this been sorted yet?
Well, I'm going to get it sorted because the next 2 games he wants to play are either Donkey Kong Bonanza or I just bought for the Switch Mario 3D World because I can't be bothered.
Look at you, Bally, getting fucking ripped off by Nintendo. Here we are, new reality.
Well, look, I want to play the Bowser's Fury at some point. So
I did say to Bally Jr. multiple times, I'm like, your dad, he's really got to get you the 60 FPS version of Kirby in the Forgotten Land. He's just kind of slacking here. You're having to play an inferior version.
One day I will tell him that there's a Switch 2 version of Forgotten Land with more levels. Yeah. We're just not there yet.
And you're going to have to play through them because clearly it's going to have to happen.
But we were having a play session quite near the end of Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and I should make clear he's been watching quite a lot of Let's Plays of Kirby and the Forgotten Land, like on his iPad, on his phone. Like he's really into watching gameplay now. He loves it. He lives for it. He is obsessed. And he's been watching a lot of Kirby Forgotten Land. So we were on this level, and he's just like, Daddy, we need to go this way, and he takes us down like this hidden corridor to the right of like this rocky level, and it goes down this hidden corridor, and there's a power up I've never seen in my life before.
What?
In this hidden corridor? And Bally Jr. is like, yeah, we need to get it. And then Daddy, because he doesn't like facing like the big boss fights, he's happy doing the mini bosses with me, but if it's a big boss fight, he wants me to do it, and that's something we need to work on. But anyway, I got this ability down this secret corridor, and then I go to the boss, and I don't know what it does yet, and I use the ability, and Kirby basically explodes, and it takes down 3/4 of the bit of the boss's health, like in one shot.
What?
And I was like, this is insane. The fact that Bally Jr. pointed out to this secret corridor that I was about to miss, and that's something I've been trying to train him on, is like, you got to look for secrets. You got to slow down and look for secrets. That's how you play these games. And the fact that he remembered that from watching the Let's Play. And then this is near the end of the game, so it's a bit of a boss rush mode that you face 3 giant bosses in a row. You face Coraline again, and after we face her, he's like, "Oh, Daddy, we need to climb up that side." And he's like, "Okay, right." So we go climb up this side that he's remembered from the Let's Play again, and there's a secret Waddle Dee hidden in the thing. And it's like, this guy is 3. Like, he's memorizing Let's Play strats and getting them out. And it's just like, oh my God. So I was telling him just how impressed I was by this. But we should also say, you came around, MBZ. We played some Kirby Forgotten Land. He did very well. We also played the Christmas level of Astrobot, which he was very excited to play. And he gave us a little lesson in abilities within that game where we were bouncing around because in the Christmas level, there's like 15 presents that you're collecting. And there was one where you basically had to get on top of a lighthouse. And once you were on top of the lighthouse, there was something else you had to do. So we got up to the top of the lighthouse using like the octopus, like you turn into a floaty ball ability. And we got up there. And then we were like, right, but how do you lift this like hook? And then Bally Jr. is just like, I know, we need chicken ability. And he like remembered that you need the chicken ability to grab the thing, and then you press the shoulder button in order for the chicken to like launch Astrobot in the sky, and that lifts the lever basically and reveals the present. And like he remembered that, and we've completely forgotten that there's a chicken ability.
Yeah, both of us were like, I think you hold it and then like you go up maybe or jump, and he was like, no, the chicken. And we were like, oh right, yeah, no, we do that, we're real video game players. Yeah, that's
and again, like he's got this memory for like abilities and how these levels work and stuff that I'm just like so blown away by. But but it was I was very impressed. What did you think of Bally Jr.'s platforming skills? Because he's been putting a lot of practice in.
Very improved from when I was last here, and he was playing Mario Kart by just going in circles in the water and not really knowing what he was doing.
That was just summer this year.
Yeah,
so it's
that was like 6 months ago.
Since 6 months ago, he's gone from doing donuts in Mario Kart World to like running through the majority of levels by himself in like Kirby and Forgotten Land. It's just wild.
Now, I will say, and this is a thing that we've discussed a little bit of, like, the way he holds the analog stick, it is basically like he's a kid in the 80s trying to play an Atari, because he holds the stick like a fucking, like a joystick, essentially, instead of, like, holding it, like, the proper way, which I think is totally fine. I think it will be something he eventually is able to grow out of and figure out, but it is funny that is the way that he currently controls characters, is by almost, like, joysticking it in a fun way.
I mean, I've tried like a single Joy-Con on its side with him, and he will like do that, but he just defaults to that claw grip position every time. And I think as long as we're playing games where like left shoulder button's not required, I mean eventually it will be required, so we'll have to just take each thing step by step.
Once you start getting to play FPS games, that's when it really happens.
I find that what his technique also means that I don't think it's as finessed perhaps as using just your thumb rather than the claw. He can sometimes keep running in the direction a little bit too long, right? But I think he's still getting better and better and better, and I think he can finesse that himself even with the claw technique. So I think he'll get there.
I'm sure.
3D World or Bonanza is the next thing. I warned him Bonanza is about 4 times the length of Kirby Forgotten Land, and he was like, I don't mind. I can do it. He's like really confident.
He's like, I'm gonna more games to play forever. That sounds good to me.
Exactly. And I told him like I've been looking up like the co-op mode of Bonanza, and it honestly looks perfect because you control Pauline, and she can basically sing notes, but her singing of notes is basically blasting a material of rock that you can select from the environment. So if he's just getting sick of facing enemies, I can just like launch rocks at these enemies and defeat them, or at least slow them down for him to beat them. And on top of that, supposedly the second player can control the camera, which is just an amazing thing. So he can literally run around, punch what he wants, do what he wants, and I can help him with the camera. And then anything that's a bit difficult, I can just like shoot some stuff at him. And obviously I'll check with him before I just take out the enemies for him. But yeah, I'm looking forward to trying to play that with him.
And did you ask him what his game of the year is? Is it obvious?
He's
what his game
not
of the year
good at, if you say, do you prefer this thing or this thing? He just
he doesn't have favorites.
Yeah, he cannot do favorites right now. It's always just like both. I love both of them. So if I have said like, do you like Astrobot more than Kirby? And he's like, no, I like Astrobot and Kirby. So like, I can't get a straight answer.
That's all right. We'll get him one day. We'll get him one day.
We'll make sure he sides with Nintendo. Like, he'll get there.
Of course. Great. Well, here we are today, Bally, joined in holy Nintendo land to discuss the video games that came out in 2025. And that's, I think, pretty much the whole show, unless there's anything else you want to tell us about that's happening today.
Yeah, I think that's everything. We're gonna do our joint top 10 games of 2025. These are games that came out in the year 2025 that came out on Nintendo platforms. I feel like there are other games announced for Switch for next year, but that doesn't matter. These are games that came out this year on Nintendo Switch, and then we're going to go to, you've been tallying up some votes, MBZ, for our fan choice game of the year list, as well as a GOTY list, I think, as well, MBZ.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. So we'll run through those afterwards, and we can get the lay of the land. But yeah, let's get into it for our Game of the Year for 2025. And we have a few games here to run through. I don't know, Bally, if you have any thoughts on best approaches of what we want to do. But yeah, maybe lay out the plan of attack here.
Push some games up, push some games down, then debate some of the ones in the middle before debating the ones at the top. Is that too boring?
No, I think that's fine. Yeah. All right. Bally, do you want to read through this list of video games that we have, and then we can kind of go through as we do?
I just want to say one more caveat. We have both put out Game of the Year videos.
Correct.
They are uploaded and published. We have not watched each other's Game of the Year videos. So we are still unaware of the exact order and preference of each other's personal top 10, although of course we've been podcasting all year about most of these games, so I have a rough idea of what some of your picks are, but this is the proper meat and potatoes for the first time discussing this list.
Correct, yes.
Charlie, I'll go through the list. So we have Blade Chimera, Citizen Sleeper 2, Split Fiction, Sea of Stars, Throes of the Watchmaker, Mario Kart World, Deltarune Chapter 3, Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, The 100 Line Last Defense Academy, Donkey Kong Bonanza, And Roger, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, Hollow Knight Silksong, Hades 2, Despelote, Eartheon, Power Wash Simulator 2, Pokemon Legends Za. And then we've got a kind of played list. These are MBZ's games. Tiny Bookshop, Absolum, Promise Mascot Agency, and Rift of the Necrodancer.
Yeah, so those are all games that I have put a small amount of time into, but maybe not enough to make a list. But who knows? When we did our Nintendo one, some of those did make it on, just based on the early vibes of what I thought of them. So they are there, potentially, if we need them, if we think that they are necessary. But otherwise, we've got all these games to run through. So what do you say? Let's start off from the top.
Let's go from the top, yeah.
Blade Chimera. So this is a game that I thought I would have probably higher up this year on my personal list. It's from Team Ladybug, who are a well-known developer for Metroidvanias. They made Touhou Lunar Nights. They did Record of Lotus War, Deedlit and Wonder Labyrinth, everyone's favorite video game name. And this is a game that appealed to me greatly. It was in a couple of Nintendo Directs. Is a action Metroidvania, but a bit more focused on ranged weaponry this time, more gun focused, as opposed to the previous games that were more, I would say, Castlevania influenced with kind of like swords and sorcery and that type of stuff. But I kind of like, it kind of came and went, Blade Chimera. Like, I enjoyed it, I had a good time with it, but ultimately wasn't very memorable compared to that other games, and kind of left my brain space relatively quickly. I think it has some cool sections and some cool boss fights and things like that, but yeah, there are other areas that I thought it could have really done improvements on. Like, there's a whole underwater section that was more frustrating than anything, just because of the way the character controls underwater, and I didn't really vibe with that very much. So yeah, there are the few things that held it back, but it's still a really great looking game, and if you are a fan of this team and their previous work, I think you'd still enjoy Blade Chimera, but I would probably put it on the lower end of the stuff that they have put out there. So yeah, I probably wouldn't put it on here.
Do you want to put it in like a middling group for now, rather than cutting it?
I think so.
Okay,
sure.
Let's do a kind of middling group. So middle group, I think, can stay black, but goes below is what I'm going to say.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Let's do that. Okay, so Citizen Sleeper 2.
Yeah, do you want to take this one, Bally?
I just played this game at the wrong time in my life, honestly. And what I mean by that is Bally was very young. I think this game came out in January, February.
Was right at the start of the year, yeah.
So yeah, Bally was like 2-3 months old, and we were not sleeping much. I was very tired. I was still managing to fit in gaming. But when you're really tired, the one thing I really don't want to do, and my brain is not very good at, is reading. And this game, it's an awful lot of reading. And I think this game is very good, but I just cannot defend it because of my experience. But I'm admitting that my experience with it was incredibly affected by how tired I was and the age of Bally. And I think that's a very unfair criticism, but I'm just being honest about the experience I had. I think that in many ways, it jumps around a lot more than the first game, and I kind of liked that. I think some of the resolutions the first game got to were a bit more satisfying than this one. And I think this game was much tougher, but not... Like, I played most of the game like one or two dice short, or like struggling. It was a lot more scrappy, a lot tougher. And I think its justifications as to why I was struggling so much in terms of number of dice was well made. Like, I think it was like, you've got in a fight, and then this happened, and it's like, I didn't mean to do this. There's a lot of tough decisions you're forced to make constantly, I feel like, in 2 more so than 1. I think arguably 2 is better than 1. I just can't personally advocate for it. I don't know. How do you feel?
Yeah, I also like 1 more, even though I do agree there are a lot of ways in which 2 is the fulfillment of what Citizen Sleeper should have been in the first place, I think. Like, I do think that mechanically 2 is stronger from the fact that it forces you to struggle. Like, the struggle in 1 is actually quite easily overcome through some smart planning and through, like, use of your resources. You can get to a place where, you're supposed to be the struggling person on the station, but really you have all the medicine you can need and all the stuff you can need, and all the dice rolls go in your favor.
Less than halfway through the game, I seem to remember. Like,
I think so. Like, you can get into a position of power pretty easily, and despite that, I still enjoyed the first one more, and I think it is part of the being on the singular space station with everybody and having that more constant connection to people, as opposed to the kind of jet setting around to different spots. And I don't know, I never felt like a true connection to a place there in that way, and because you are going everywhere constantly. I really did still like it a lot. I think the writing is still tremendously good, so I don't think it's one that we should kill just yet. I think it's still solid, and potentially could go somewhere near the bottom of a list, I think.
Okay.
I still think Citizen Sleeper 2 is very good.
I think we probably push it up then for now.
Sure.
So I do a gap there, and then that's the upper list. You got the lower list, and the bottom list can be read. Okay. So, Split Fiction. Yeah. I love this game. I think it was obviously less impactful than It Takes Two. I think we've seen this density of mechanics thrown in your face in a co-op game before because of It Takes Two. The story is woeful. I don't normally have a go at stories and voice acting and scripts and that kind of thing, and I would like pause the game just to make like a snide remark to you, MBZ, while we're playing this. And I'm genuinely not that kind
Bally
of person.
is not this person. He never does this.
I don't
so
go.
This is significant. Yeah.
I've not consumed enough media to just say, oh, this is a trope on that, this is a trope on this. But this game felt so tropey. Like I couldn't believe it. But then one of the moments of the year is the final level. The overwhelming feeling I remember is like both of us just pausing and like laughing our heads off at just how ridiculous and incredible aspects of that final level were. And it's still kind of hard to wrap your head around things that final level does. And I think the game deserves so much credit for what it does with that final level. But maybe some of the other longer levels were a little weaker than It Takes Two. One I remember so distinctly was when I was flying around as a dragon and you were rolling around on the floor like a Goron.
I was like a shitty Sonic dragon and you were a cool flying dragon.
That felt a little unfair, and some of those longer levels were quite long, even though they were broken up by the mini tales, the mini stories that were like kind of 5-minute mini levels, which I thought were another highlight of the game. I think there were so many strong like mini levels that were just So much fun. I've game is definitely it is in my personal top 10. It's a very good game, but has its issues.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky one because I think if you look at it on paper, it is a better game than It Takes Two in terms of its variety and the things it gets you to do and all that sort of stuff. But I think I don't remember as much of it. Like, I remember individual levels and moments in It Takes Two even more, despite having played that 3 years ago versus this that I just played this year. And I'm struggling to just recall sections of this game. Like, there are whole areas and sections that I just don't really remember, I think. And I think that is a pitfall to some degree when you have a game that is so relentless in its creativity and what it's throwing at you that you actually kind of forget things by the time that you get through it.
I definitely think the theming doesn't help it. I think doing very generic fantasy, very generic sci-fi, and themes within those broader themes is hard. Like, I think that It Takes Two, we will forever remember the tree level, or like the ice level, the music level near the end, the first level where it's like Toy Story, like you're in the house, like
they're so like distinctive. Exactly.
And mechanics that you associate with those locations in your head, whereas it's much harder, I think, to link the levels to mechanics, other than for the wrong reasons, like I just said, with the dragon and the rolling around.
Exactly. I think that there's definitely certain levels that just feel like they go on for too long with a single idea or mechanic. There's definitely, there's shifting up of certain things in terms of, so like there's the level with the gorilla and you switch to a fairy and you switch to another thing, and the big tree as well, that was cool type of thing. That was cool, but like despite the fact that you are switching between these three different things, because they kind of give them all to you straight away, it doesn't feel like there's enough of an evolution throughout the level. And you do other stuff, like there's that weird fucking dance revolution boss you do against the monkey, and then maybe there was the area where like one of us was controlling like the spikes in the ground, and then we accidentally killed you.
Yes, that was cool.
So there is variety in there, but
it's like a 45-50 minute level. And then kind of, don't mean to be overly harsh, but because you're bouncing away from the main level to play the short 5-minute smaller levels, the downside is it can make the longer level feel a little longer because you're bouncing in and out of those things and you're going back to this main longer level. That's not to say I needed those short levels to make this game more coherent and more like stronger, better pacing. But it does make those longer levels longer.
I think so. I
see this in the top 10, but
I also do. I think there is definitely if this was the first try at it, I think we'd both have this very high on our list.
For sure.
And I think it would be up there. But I think the thing that it taught me is actually I do care a bit more about narrative than I give myself credit for in games. And if you are lacking it to such a degree, then it does have an impact. Even though, I've always been, gameplay over story, right? And that is the very definition of what this game is. It still wasn't enough to save it, I think, from like being the best thing in the world, and I think that is
because I worry that the game is still proud of its story. I'm worried that Joseph Fares is proud of the story. He like made a point of like he named these characters after his daughters, for God's sake. Like
that don't they have a movie deal or something as well? In the works?
There's supposedly a movie deal.
Which is baffling, but sure.
I don't know.
I think it goes in the top 10 for now, probably.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Okay, cool. Bally, you did not play this one. This is a DLC for one of your favorite games, though, for Sea of Stars. Sea of Stars.
The honest reason I didn't play the DLC is because it was on Game Pass, and Xbox pumped up the price of Game Pass, and it's that awkward thing of I'm just bad at playing DLC for games anyway. But to play a game to play a game's DLC when I play the original game on Game Pass feels like I'm not gonna go back to it, even if it is a pain DLC.
In the ass.
Yeah, it's a pain
in the ass because the same thing happened to me with Chained Echoes. And,
I
I can't play the DLC for that now, and so I don't know. So good reason to not use that service. But anyway, Sea of Stars, Throes of the Watchmaker. It is a DLC for Sea of Stars, and I liked it. I think it's good. I don't think it's amazing. I think it falls down in the sense of it's too difficult, and so I definitely knocked the difficulty down. Regular difficulty is like almost brutal in terms of what it expects from you, and I think it's a game that, it made me realize, like, I did enjoy Sea of Stars combat, but I played this after playing Expedition 33, and I was like, I see, yes, one of these is not like the other, and it definitely recontextualized, I think, my feelings on the combat in a game like this, which is much more heavily riffing on Mario RPG and the Mario and Luigi games and those types of things, which I think are not as satisfying when it comes down to it in terms of, okay, you can block something, but hey, it still does enough damage to kill you, and that feels unfair, right? It just feels like, awful. Okay. Yeah, like, and that's what was happening on normal difficulty. It's like I'd perfectly block, and I would still lose 35 health and die.
Oh my god. It's the complete opposite of Expedition 33, where you can limp through to the later stages of that game with a low-level team, and if you're countering everything, then you can beat the game. You can just play on because you can't take any damage.
Well, there's that area in the north where it was all frozen, and I went up to that spot, and I was like, oh my god, these guys are fucking have 1 million health, and I was able to just learn their pattern, and after like 20 minutes of fighting, I killed them, and I got like insane amount of experience and a bunch of like rare pictos and stuff like that, and I was like, oh, well, okay, that's cool. It's cool that the game lets you do that. You could never do that with Sea of Stars, I will say. So it's a shame. But I think the thing that it does double down on is puzzle solving, which I think is quite cool because that was one of the, I think, better aspects of Sea of Stars. It was kind of merging your traditional RPG exploration with like mini dungeon areas and, pushing blocks and things like that. And there are quite a lot of fun puzzles to solve here. I think it's well put together. It has the whole like theme of a circus tent, essentially, with clowns and people running around and all this fun stuff. And I think overall it looks great. Music is still really good. But I definitely had to dial the difficulty down because otherwise I don't think it would have been that enjoyable. But I had a good time, and it's not too long. It's like 6-7 hours or so. So yeah, decent chunky bit of DLC for one of the better games that have come out in the last few years.
Nice.
So. Yeah.
This going red, or is it in the middle pack?
I do like it. I think it's probably more middle.
Let's go middle of the pack,
in my opinion. We'll see. Maybe if there's nothing else that is something we're hot on, then maybe it comes back through. Yeah.
Talking of not hot on, there's actually a game we forgot from this list that we need to add. So I'm just going to type that
really?
at the bottom.
Oh, right. You are correct. So we did forget a video game.
Yep,
shit. You're right. Well, we did it. We hadn't finished it.
We'll talk about that later.
We hadn't finished it by the time that we put this list together originally. So that's a good...
that game is, of course, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. So we'll
as we all love and adore.
Yes,
yeah, great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, speaking of another game we all love and adore, Bally. Speaking of hell of a year for Nintendo, Mario Kart World. Yeah. How are you feeling about Mario Kart World?
I'm going to start positive, and what I want to say positive is I'm in the process of listening to Giant Bomb Game of the Year discussions, and they've got Moment of the Year, and one of their Moments of the Year listed for Mario Kart World is, I think it's like the final Grand Prix. So because it's Mario Kart World, you sort of go track to track, and it kind of finishes where you're coming down this big downhill, and then you fly, and then you go in the water, and then you go across the water, and then you go into Rainbow Road, and Rainbow Road is like this incredible point-to-point epic race, and there's a lot wrong with that game, but I do think like the final thing you're doing and the Rainbow Road reveal and that whole thing just feels like an excellent celebration of Mario Kart and great vibes, and the music is just phenomenal, and it's a moment I want to definitely try and play again very soon because I had forgotten how great that was until it was mentioned on Giant Bomb and would like to experience it. But yes, the rest of the game does have quite a few issues. I think that in my head, the whole like going from track to track and having the very wide, boring routes between them has definitely soured in my mind a lot since I played it. I definitely thought at the time it's not great, but it's fine. And then Nintendo's weird twitchiness about like stopping people playing the tracks on a 3-lap basis was very strange when you like had the option of being able to do that in online mode. I think they have gone back on that, which is nice, but it's just a very, I don't know, it conflicts with the vision of the game a bit when they're messing around with that kind of stuff, and I think that's a shame. And I will admit I look forward to updates for this game and how they choose to change the world, improve on the world, maybe add missions, maybe add something more than just this very open, boring space with these pseudo missions that don't really link to anything. I hope that they can do stuff down the line, and maybe they ran out of time. Maybe this had to be a Switch 2 launch game and they just ran out of time. Who knows? I don't know. But I just think that it was quite lacking, but there's some good stuff there.
Yeah, I think missed potential is the overarching phrase that I associate with Mario Kart World. I think it's kind of crazy that they revealed, oh, it's an open world Mario Kart game, and then they released the video game and they do nothing with that premise. I think it is abysmal in terms of its execution based on the potential that it had. And it is, I think, maybe, and I'm someone who is not the biggest Mario Kart fan in the world. You know, I've played all of them. I've enjoyed all of them. I think they're all good video games and great multiplayer growing up, playing all these, you know, it's a series we've played together since we were very, very young. And so obviously I have a lot of good memories with Mario Kart, generally speaking. But Mario Kart World is the one where I looked at it and I thought, maybe that's the game for me. Maybe that's the NBZ Mario Kart one. You know, the one where you can go around and you can take inspiration from, you know, great games like Forza Horizon that have kind of blazed a trail in terms of how do you do an open world racing game, and how do you breadcrumb it? How do you put it together to make it so that you can have races as part of the world, but then also like do these little mini things and unlock things as part of the exploration? And I think it is just woeful, absolutely fucking woeful in its execution of anything to do with an open world. It just feels like this could have been the game to take Mario Kart to a new space, to take it to a new level. It ultimately feels like, you know, could you imagine if Breath of the Wild had done what Mario Kart World had done with an open world? Like, Nintendo would have been fucked. Like, their entire, generation was built on the back of this video game that understood open world game design. And I can't, it baffles me that their biggest franchise just absolutely whiffed it so hard. And it is a game that I should have put 50 hours into, and I've barely put 20. And I think that says so much about everything that it tries to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's not just the open world. I think it's the fact that they double down on these point-to-point races that are inherently less interesting, and they don't even let you play regular laps online either.
Yeah.
And in fact, they patched it to make it worse, and I think they've done some patches since to make it a little bit better. But I don't know. I think they sorely misjudged what this game should be. And I think these are the times where Nintendo just reminds me that they still don't know what the hell they're doing a lot of the time. Despite making some of the greatest games ever made, they still have room to put out games like this that truly baffle me and make me think, do you actually know what you're doing, Nintendo? So, yeah. So,
and the online is pretty borked in the sense that, like, we tried to play, is it called the World Tour mode or whatever?
The fucking Battle Royale one where you're all going together.
Yeah. And we couldn't play. We couldn't consistently match.
You
together.
Still can't.
You
still can't to this
right.
day. Yeah, I believe.
How can I not play the main mode of the game online with a friend? And it just is insane. It's absolutely insane. And we didn't play Drag and Drive, but that
Drag X Drive,
but that equally had like some very bad online pairing options and things like that. Nintendo are just dropping the ball consistently on that kind of thing with launch games.
Yep.
I'd argue a game like Splatoon is very good at online. I think that seems
great,
to work. But
I've heard Kirby Air Riders is fantastic. And guess what? It's
being
being led by Sakurai, who actually knows what he's doing when it comes to multiplayer.
But like, there's just something about Mario Kart they can't get right. I was super disappointed by that. And yeah, I hope this game can improve. But for now, it's a very disappointing game and sounds like it's not making the top 10.
Yeah, I think it is. It might be the most disappointing game that Nintendo's released in the last decade. Like, I'm legit. Like, that is hyperbole, but I honestly couldn't fucking believe that they had this layup and they missed so hard. Like, it's sad. It's just really sad.
I do think the new tracks are great. Like, there are some really good new tracks.
The thing is, I wouldn't know because I've never done them more than one lap.
I would love it if. I think they should have been bolder and said, like, right, you're going to do 3 laps of this course, and then you're going to drive to the next course, and then you're going to do another 3 laps. And if you think that's too long, too bad, because this is our new mode of playing 3 laps and then driving across the world, Mario Kart World, and then playing the next track. And then we're going to have another half of the game where you can just play the tracks. I think there is a good game in here. They just didn't present it to us. And that's between the online options. That's between the main game options where you have to play the point-to-point races. And like you say, you do 1 lap and then you move on. It's like you've done the hard work and making it is a cool open world. It's very blank in certain spaces, but it's still it's very pretty. And like the music is phenomenal in this game. Yeah. There is a really great game in there. And I do think they could No Man's Sky this, and come the end of the generation, we think, you know what, Mario Kart World is a really great Mario Kart game. We're just not there yet.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think there's opportunity. Like you said, the things about it that are great. Like, it looks fucking fantastic. Like, it is really, really stunning. And the way that it runs, like when I first played it on my Switch 2 handheld, I was like, whoa, Jesus, this thing is cooking. They've really done some stuff with how good this game looks. And music, a lot of people have talked about as well. Obviously, there's a lot of remixes and things of older Mario tracks, but there's a tremendous amount of them, and they all sound fantastic. And there are parts of that open world that are kind of awe-inspiring. Like, there was that time where I was just like, suddenly it started raining like question mark blocks, and you're like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, there are some really cool, like, unique moments, but they don't serve anything. It's like, okay, I found this truck and suddenly I'm playing this truck and like riding around, and there's a UFO that kind of absorbed me, and like all these things are surprises and delights that you would expect from a Mario Kart open world, but none of them fucking mean anything. And I think that's the ultimate problem, is like there are these cool things there, but there's no point to them. And yeah, I think that's an issue. So one of the big issues with it. So does it make this list, Bally?
Is it going red? Are we going in the middle tier?
I personally, I don't think it deserves to be on this list.
I'd be willing to fight for bottom of the top 10, but it sounds like I'm never going to win that argument.
Let's see. I think it depends on the list and how many.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go middle for now then. But I'm not hopeful. But yeah.
No. Yeah. I wouldn't be. God, let's get to our predictions next time, because there's a funny thing associated with this, I think.
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, we can litigate. Okay, Delta Rune Chapter 3. So it probably should be Delta Rune Chapter 3 and 4, but I didn't get to play Chapter 4 this year. I played Chapter 3. I am someone who likes Undertale, who likes Delta Rune, and I think that puts me in the minority, because I believe most people are lunatics for these video games, and I am not in that category. I enjoy them. I think they're fun and well written, but I am not here to tattoo Undyne onto my butt cheek. So I think Deltarune Chapter 3 is really fun. I think it has like a cool premise to it, which is basically a game show, and you have this kind of game show mixed with this almost Dragon Quest style top-down overworld, like game within a game. Like, it does some really cool things, has some very fun ideas. I think I probably should have played Chapter 4 alongside it, because it feels like everyone says Chapter 4 is actually where all the meat is for this kind of segment of the game. But I didn't get around to it. I hopefully will do in 2026. But I do think that it's good. It's very good. So I think the music's nice. I like Deltarune. I think it's cool. I'm not super passionate about it, so I can put it on a list, or I could not put it on a list. Doesn't really matter to me at the end of the day.
We'll go middle of the pack then.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not really reading anything, but I don't know. No. Equally, we're not pushing much up, so
no.
we'll see where
yeah,
we're at.
Well, There's some things. Now, let me tell you about a video game that should be in our top 10, Bally. Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. Now, this, ladies and gentlemen, this is a real fucking video game, okay? You go inside the Nintendo Switch 2 and you figure out what really makes it tick, okay? And not many people know what makes the Nintendo Switch 2 tick. That's why Nintendo, in their infinite wisdom...
Did you reach credits on this thing?
Yes.
You did?
Did you? No, you didn't,
no,
motherfucker.
I didn't.
Because you were like, oh, can you put it on my list for me? I'm deciding I'm done. No, you're not done. I'm going to fucking take it back off your list, you piece of shit. I played 8 hours of Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, according to my Nintendo Switch 2. Thank you very much.
I think I played like 6.
You didn't play 6. You played probably
I think I played
hours.
6.
I don't know. How far did you get?
Why is this game more than 6 hours anyway? Why is it so long?
Because there's so much information, Bally, that we have to relay to the player so that they truly understand the device that they're holding and playing their video games on. How could they do it otherwise?
But look, when you've got Silk Song to play and Hades 2 to play, I'll admit I didn't feel much motivation to learn about the minutiae of how the internals of my Nintendo Switch 2 were working in that moment. I was more keen on playing those other games.
You see, the irony about this video game is Bally was way more excited for it than I was. I was like, oh, for God's sake, this Nintendo charging us for this shit.
In practice, I just didn't have the passion I thought I might. And
as we've realized, or we learned, Bally, you don't like reading, especially when you're tired. So I think that's probably...
I was less tired by this point, in my defense. I was less tired by this point.
You were less tired, but you were still probably quite tired, so I imagine you didn't want to spend your evening reading.
I mean, there's still a lot of reading in this game. Too much reading.
Yeah, well, I think the thing that brings Welcome Tour down a bit too much is how many fucking quizzes there are. Like, it's so funny.
That's the problem, yeah.
That is the problem. And the minigames are fun. I do think there's some really good ones in there and some good uses of the technology.
Yeah.
And like I had a good time like going through all of those and being like, oh, what is this thing and how do I get this to work? And there are some really fucking difficult ones in there as well. Like the one where you have to move the mouse and basically pinpoint an individual like dot where it's like vibrating the most. You're like moving the mouse, and like the first one's quite easy because it's like only across like the y-axis, and then you have to do the y and x-axis, and it's like trying to pinpoint that individual pixel is so fucking difficult that I don't think I actually ever did it. I got pretty close, but I never managed to do it because you have to do it within like a 5 or 10 pixel range or something crazy.
I think this is a very tough game to 100%, honestly. Probably tougher than most games on this list to 100%.
Yeah, not gonna lie. There's definitely some really hard like later challenges that come through. There was one I remember that you're kind of like almost treating the mouse like a bike, and you're kind of like riding through and you have to like dodge around things and kind of get there in like a good speed. Like some really, really fun things in there. I think, like I said, the thing that brings it down for me is I got to the end of the game, like inside the fucking GPU or whatever, like inside the motherboard, essentially, the heart, the guts of the machine. And you start doing quizzes and more quizzes unlock and more quizzes unlock and more, and like, I swear to God, there's like 19 fucking desks worth of quizzes in that last area. And I'm like, I am so close to finishing this game and being done with it. And I'm still...
I just didn't want all that bullshit. I couldn't do it. I was getting sick of quizzes like 2, 3, 4 hours in. I was just like, I'm so quizzed out.
Yeah, I did learn a lot. Have I remembered any of it? No, not really. But like, it was fun, and I do like that it exists in the sense that if you ever do have a question about the Switch 2, you can hop onto Welcome Tour and they'll teach you about it. Sure. I think one of the other drawbacks is the fact that for certain aspects of it, you have to use the docked mode, or you have to use it in handheld, or you have to...
That was not much fun when I was feeling very lazy at the end of the day. I'm just like, help me get through this damn game. And it was like, well, you have to get up now. Oh, you got to sit down again. Oh, you got to pick it up. Oh, detach the Joy-Con. We're going in mouse mode now. It's like, oh, God's sake. Like, it's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot to take in.
It is a lot. It's a lot. But ultimately, I think it's really interesting as a thing for Nintendo release, and I do think that we should put it on this list just for the fun of it, really.
Jesus,
at the end of the day.
Really?
Just to make a statement. Oh, yeah. Oh, this is better than Mario Kart World. Of course it is. God. This game is way better than Mario Kart World. It actually has something to say.
Are you pushing it up to this top 2 at the moment?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, sure. Fuck it.
Oh,
This is our list. I like Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. I think it's fun.
All right. It's up there for now. Look, it's up there for now.
It's good. It's a good video game.
Right.
Made by professionals.
This next game is like 10 games in one. I'm interested in your
Yeah,
thoughts.
it's more like 50 games in one. The 100-line Last Defense Academy. So this is a game I think I have about 50 hours in and have barely started.
Oh, God.
So, you know, so yeah, it is a visual novel, a strategy game hybrid from the minds who brought you the Zero Escape series and Danganronpa, which is
just taking like a very long type of game and melding it with another very long type of game. So,
kind of, yeah.
I can see why it's so long.
To some degree.
Yeah.
It makes sense, yeah. So obviously the minds of Kazutaka Kodaka and Kotaro Uchikoshi, who are two kind of like titans, let's say, of the mystery narrative space when it comes to visual novels. And yeah, they basically put everything in the company into this one video game and have talked about how...
You were so confident this game would do well that you even counterpicked it in our Fantasy Critic.
God, dude, I can't fucking believe that shit. The thing that really kills me about that is like... I have been rooting for these guys for so long, and they have not like done me right, you know? Like
counterpicking their game is not rooting for them. Come on.
No, this is the problem. I was rooting for them, and they just never proved me right. Like they were constantly putting out games that were underwhelming and didn't do well. And I was like, well, they're never gonna get out of this. And then they did by releasing this, which was good, apparently. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm okay with it because not only, you know, did I get a good video game, which is kind of what I wanted, but I still won the Fantasy League anyway, even losing 15 points. So
you did win. You did very well. I'm impressed. Hats off. MBZ did incredibly well. And you also did like a real second half of the year comeback as well. It wasn't like you were streaking away at the start. So yeah, I
did some real winners at the end of there. That was,
you said, I'm going to win this year, and then you won.
I did it. So anyway, 100-line Last Defense Academy. Yeah, it's really, really, really good. I played the main kind of first 100 days, and I think it then opens up from there. And what it opens up into is very intimidating because there's just a lot of potential things you can do and routes you can go down. But it is a game I keep wanting to go back to, and I do intend to play more of just because it is so compelling. I think the thing that surprised me the most actually is how much I like the tactics of it, because I think that was one of the aspects that I was quite skeptical of, based on the fact that these guys are mainly visual novel people and they, you know, gameplay wise is not something that they really do super well, but they created this system that feels unique into itself, where every character has their own unique moveset, and so losing a character, having someone die as part of the story, actually kind of impacts your strategy quite significantly, because it means that you're no longer being able to rely on maybe a move that you really liked, or like having a certain kind of range or ability that you relied on to open up things and to make battles easier for yourself. So I think it's very smart from the way that its tactics is built and very satisfying to pull off, and is super unique in the way that like you can deliberately make people die for your own benefit, which I think is fascinating from a tactic standpoint, especially
messed up
especially coming from Fire Emblem, of like, you know, the entire purpose is to not lose anybody and you reset if you lose anybody. And this game's like, okay, but what if we made death purposeful, and like you want someone to die because then they will inject everyone else with like this additional power and lets everyone else do super well. Yeah, I think it's very smart in that way. I don't think that it quite lands the pacing of it all, because I do think the one thing that I love about Danganronpa in particular is because you have individual mysteries and individual court cases, you get that nice dopamine hit of a mystery revealed that also gives you a little bit of a snippet into the wider mystery, right?
Good point.
And because this game doesn't have that structure, the snippets on their own are not enough, and so it doesn't feel like you're learning enough or getting enough secrets over the course of at least that first 100 days in order to keep the perfect pace up. So I don't think it's quite as strong as those games, but I think it is still fascinating and tells a really interesting story and has a lot of sci-fi concepts that I think are well observed and well put together. So I still like it a lot. It's in my top 10, so I would like to see if it can make this one.
I think we can push it up in that case. There's not much up there.
No.
Let's do it. Okay.
100 line, Last Defense Academy. It's a great video game.
Donkey Kong Bonanza. Let's push it up. Let's talk about it later. How about that?
Oh, you don't want to talk about it now?
No? Let's talk.
Okay.
We can talk
Right,
about it now if you want.
No, it's Donkey Kong Bonanza. It's quite good. You play as a monkey. You hit things a lot.
It's great. I just think that to convey Donkey Kong's physicality in a 3D platforming game, I think they hit it out of the park. I think that Pauline adds a lot of heart to the game. Like I think it's really nice when you find those getaways, and then she has her little chats with DK, and like it's just a really nice like companion thing going on. I think
the Pauline narrative stuff is super good.
Yeah.
I think it's. I was surprised how often that I went to one of those spots and was like, "Oh, I'm excited to hear what Pauline has to say."
Yeah.
You know, like they do a really good job of it.
And I think that mechanically, there's nowhere near the sheer number of ideas of a game like Odyssey, and its mechanics don't keep refreshing themselves at the rate that game does, and some of the areas are very long, and the game overall is just too long. I think I've come to that conclusion.
Yeah,
but
it has a flabby middle problem, which I think, there are certain games that do that, and Donkey Kong is certainly one of those. But I think the problem is it ends so strongly that it does excise a lot of those for me.
And there's just so much nostalgia in there I found for Donkey Kong Country. I was very pleased with all that stuff. So I really, really, really love this game. And I think it's musically just phenomenal. Like listening back, like making my Game of the Year video and listening to some of the music, I think that there's so many like Donkey Kong tracks remixed and repurposed in really nice ways throughout the game that I just loved. And the use of the different bonanzas and the way they're presented. And I think my highlight was probably like the kind of shrine style smaller levels that force you to think outside the box a bit more and use the abilities in different and unique ways. I think those were some of the best ones, and it never got old, that sound design, the vibration in the controller of getting bananas. Like it was always satisfying. And it's quite a simple game in many ways, but I think they did a really good job. I was very impressed.
Yeah, it's good. Donkey Kong Bonanza, it's up there. Okay, next we have And Roger. What do you feel about And Roger, Bally?
I like this game a lot, but I think its most impactful parts slightly went over my head because I'm just not smart enough with games like this.
Wait, really?
Yeah, aspects. I was a little bit more confused than I was impacted, if that makes sense. Like in parts. Other parts were very impactful, and I don't want to get into. I struggle to remember a lot of it in my head in any case. Right. And we probably shouldn't go into detail unless we do spoiler gates or whatever, but
sure.
Yeah, it doesn't quite stick the landing in my head. That's the vibe I'm getting, but I think sounds like you like this game quite a lot more than me.
No, I like it. I think it's really good. It's not like in my top 10 or anything. I think it's
not mine
just
either,
very well observed, and I think a really smartly put together short experience that uses mechanics of the game to tell the story, really, which I think is very good. I do like that a lot, and I do think it does a good job of that. I think you are right in that I don't remember a huge amount of it outside of the beginning, because I think that's kind of the most impactful part. But I think it's very well executed. So I'm not going to fight for it necessarily if you're not that passionate, but I did like And Roger. Thought it was good.
Okay, so we're in the middle group then.
Sure.
Okay. Right.
Next up, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. This game fucking slaps. It's so good. I had such a great time just like running through. We just don't have games like this anymore, which are level-based action platformers where you just run through and just hit people in the face, Like there's such a satisfaction to having a sword and there's a monster and you just kill the monster with the sword and he dies in one hit. And I think this game has some really nice elements to it of boss fights that feel like pattern recognition-y but also challenging, and you fight them a lot of times, and Eventually you learn and you dodge and you avoid and then you kill them. It has like the two kind of protagonists where one of them almost is like a ghost who lives inside you and she can like do different things. I think it just has a great sense of what a player of a game like this wants, which is pounding soundtrack, like really strong pixel art, great just thought in terms of level design and placement of like certain, areas where you have to take down 5 enemies back to back, but they're all placed in such a way where you will kill this one, so then you kill this one, you get the special move from that, use the special move on another guy to then get a big special move you can use to kill a big guy. There's just like a real loop to it that I found immensely satisfying to pull off, and yeah, I just blasted through this thing. Like I played it in like a handful of days and I couldn't stop. I thought it was tremendously well put together.
And it's level based. It's not Metroidvania or anything.
It is.
Right,
yes,
cool.
It's not Metroidvania, which I think is kind of why I have bounced off of Shinobi a little bit, because I do own Shinobi and I bought it right when Hollow Knight came out, which was a stupid idea. But I do want to go back to Shinobi. I think part of the thing that
Shinobi's not on this list.
No, Shinobi is not on this list because I've not really played it.
Okay.
Right. I didn't get enough time. I played like, I don't know, 30 minutes of it maybe.
Okay.
But I just keep bouncing off of it, I think, because it has the Metroidvania element. Like Shinobi's weird in that it's level based, but you can just choose to go back to earlier parts of the level to do Metroidvania stuff. It gave me a little bit of the Messenger vibes, the back half of the Messenger vibes, which wasn't really feeling. I do want to go back and play it because I think it looks amazing and it does feel great to play. But yeah, I just kind of wanted something a bit more forward flowing, which is what Ninja Gaiden was. So
sounds like you want to push it up.
Yes, I would like to.
Okay,
I think it's very good. Yeah.
Oh boy, Here we go. Hollow Knight Silk Song.
Yeah, I don't know about this one. It's not sure. It's
talk about like a game that has hype and build up and sticks the landing. I can't think of too many games that have done it quite as elegantly as this game.
I think this and Elden Ring are like the two
Elden
examples.
Ring is a good example. You're right. I don't think there's much else. This is like the 2D version of Elden Ring anyway, isn't it?
Basically, yeah, pretty much.
It's phenomenal. I want to play more of this game. It's one of my greatest sins this year is that I didn't play any of Act 3 and managed to beat the main game, missing 2 of the most impactful areas of the game, according to you at least. And there's some great boss fights in here.
Look, so did I. I finished Act 2 in like 30 hours, 28 hours, and I didn't have the double jump when I beat Act 2 either.
Right.
Yeah, we should move it up.
Let's move it up.
Move up Hollow Knight Silk Song. Put it up to the next round, and we can talk about it then.
Hades 2.
We can do the same for Hades 2, I think. Yeah, Bally, you've played a lot of Hades
45 hours. I've seen credits on Hades 2. We can talk about it later. Despelote. I've played this since we last recorded. I think this one slightly went over my head as well. I'm
really okay.
Maybe there wasn't much that should have gone over my head. Maybe I did get it all, and that's what the game has to offer. I'm not really sure of what the main messages of the game were meant to be, or whether it was just quite a simple autobiographical. If I said that word right, autobiographical kind of video game. And I think the way that like there was park aerial shots used, and then you run in the park. There's some cool stuff in there that I think was unique, but I'd say this is an okay game with some cool things, and it does some interesting things that are quite unique. I like the way that you're playing the football video game, and that's the same controls as football in the world.
I was surprised when I first started it, and it's like the top-down, classic football video game that you use, and it almost teaches you how to play through that first, and then you do it in first person, which I thought was quite neat.
This game has a weird way of making 2002 Ecuador feel like 1980 or something. Like it feels so old, and we're only talking about 2002, which I think is kind of wild. I
was going to say, I think part of that is just the aesthetic and way it presents itself, right? It feels older and a further back in time place than it actually is.
And when the mom is like, they go into like the main square, and she's like, I'm gonna go away and do some errands or whatever. You wait here in this square. And it's like, wow, my mum never did that with me when I was like 7-8 years old.
Right, yeah, back in the early 2000s, that was a very common thing, especially in a part of the world like that.
Exactly, like I was just so much more sheltered than like that kind of thing, which was interesting. What I'm getting at is like there's lots of interesting things this game does, but none of it like hit me like, wow, this is incredible and deserves to be in one of these lists. It's just, it's a cool game that does some cool things, but you got to be more than that, I think, to get high up on these kinds of lists. That's my personal feeling. How about you?
Yeah, no, I like it. I think it's quite effective in terms of creating a sense of place and
did you
just
get
the
lost?
Time period.
I got lost a lot.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the purpose of
yeah.
it to some degree,
Then
right?
Your mum comes and gets you, and you hear her whistling, and
right. You're running through the rain and all that sort of stuff, right? Like I think
like
there's
grabs you by the wrist, like, where were you? It's like,
yeah, totally. It's like, oh, I don't know. I this whole place is so hard to know where the fuck I'm going because it's all in black and white and like difficult to perceive. But yeah, I think it is at its strongest when you are like having those moments with around the family and like being able to kind of almost eavesdrop on what people are talking about, and so you get that. It's very slice of life, very kind of like, you know, literally you have been just popped into a moment in time. And I think that's where narratively it holds up the best. Football stuff I think is interesting. I think mechanically it's actually quite impressive from like the first person perspective of how the ball magnetizes to your feet and the way that you shoot the ball. I think is actually really well put together because I think it's a hard thing to do, you know, very difficult thing to do mechanically, and we do a very good job of making it feel good. But I also I'm not as like wildly passionate about it. I think it's good. I enjoyed it a good amount, but it's not, you know, on any of my lists either. So I'm happy to leave it off for now.
I think it was wild where you had described it on the podcast, like the whole like you can watch part of the game and then it's playing in real time, so you can just sit there and watch a whole 90-minute football match.
You can spend, and that's the thing that's quite bold about it, is it the game just lets you do what you want in those moments where your mum leaves you.
Yeah.
Like you're there for 20 minutes. You can spend that 20 minutes just watching the game, which I think is kind of crazy.
I think the time passes differently whether you're watching the game or not watching the game, because you can walk away from the game and then you come back and the game has skipped forward way more than like the time has skipped just running around.
Oh,
like,
interesting.
I think there's some really funky mechanics in there actually, how that all works. It's weird because you're not watching like a 90-minute game as it were, but yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, we can drop it for now.
All right. Despelote. Next game only I have played is a game called Eartheon, which is a shmup that released in the style of a classic one, to the degree to which I believe it is playable on a Mega Drive, a classic console. So they basically built it in a way that it would work as a retro game as well as a modern one, which is very, very nice. Yeah, Eartheon's very cool. I think it has a lot of pizzazz to it, a lot of kind of spark, and some very good looking visuals. But I don't know. I think it's one of those, like, I like shmups a lot. I enjoy playing through them. Am I the best in the world? No. Actually, I played it on easy. I put it down to easy difficulty just because I knew I would die. Otherwise, it's one of those, you know, play it with 1/4 or, you know, arcade machine style things where you're going to die pretty frequently. And I enjoyed playing through it. But, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I have passion to put it anywhere on this list. So,
okay. Shall we put it in that middling bottom category? We've not made anything red, so it's just become the bottom category. But
yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Power Wash Sim 2.
Oh my god, this game is like a balm. It's like it's such a relaxing thing. And look, I'll be honest, there's not a huge difference between this and the first Power Wash Simulator. I think this one is better in the sense that there was a lot of moments in the first game where I would not know where the fuck the last piece was to like wash away. This game does such a better job of doing that, about telling you where what you've missed is. I think it does a really good job just making it easier to clean things.
That sounds pretty revolutionary, the whole like telling you where the last bit is. That sounds nice.
Yeah. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I think, yeah, it also just feels like the first time cleaning something is always going to be a lot more smooth than it previously was in the first one. And I've used a lot of the tools now. The ability to like extend your your nozzle so that you don't have to like now because you basically the way it works is you have ladders and things like that, and you're using your ladders to get up high and to shoot areas you can't reach. And now I have a nozzle that is so distant that I can basically stand on the ground and perfectly clean something that's like 20 foot up in the air now, which is super nice. So the progression of that and like getting the upgrades to your nozzles and like using things like soap and everything, I think it's really, really good. So I don't know, I really love Power Wash Sim 2. It's not revolutionary, it's not going to change the world, but I spent 25 hours playing it this year, and probably will spend another 25 hours playing it in 2026. So yeah,
sounds like it should go up.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. It's a perfect podcast game. It is like the ultimate podcast game. There is nothing that comes even close, I think, to the Zen-like nature of Power Wash Simulator. So I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Pokemon Legends Zar.
Yeah, so I finished Zar recently. I think it's a game that I was relatively hot on for the first like 10, 15 hours or so. And then I realized the game was going to be the same thing for another 10, 15 hours or so. And I was like, I don't know if I really am down for that anymore. Yeah, I think it ultimately it falls down in the place that I always knew it would, which is this city is not very interesting. And it's the only place you're exploring the whole game. And there's the wild zones, which are, they become more populated and, they appear more frequently later on. But it does feel like that first 10 hours, there's actually not that many Pokemon you can catch. And therefore your team variety is just a bit odd. I had a really weird team. My team was Garchomp for Alligator, which I think Garchomp does have a Mega, but I never got the Mega for some reason. For Alligator's Mega is weird. He's Dragon, by the way, in his Mega form, and his head becomes like a giant, weird, I don't know, like a chicken hat. It's odd. Yeah, Mega for Alligator is weird. So those kind of my two kind of like big beefy boys, and then I had Houndoom because I love Houndoom. I had Absol because the game kind of gives you an Absol to begin with, and he's quite good. And then I had Heracross, which you trade from someone quite early on. And then I had Mawile. So, like, a very odd set of Pokemon, really, with not a good amount of team balance, I would say. Like, if there was anything that was fighting type, that could kind of rip through me pretty easily. So, it was just a case of trying to be a little bit careful, which did add a nice bit of challenge to it to some degree. My Pokemon died way more playing this game than they ever have done in any other Pokemon game, just because of the real-time nature of it, of like, a lot of these mega fights I was fighting, and I was dying in them, because like, I would get hit by a fucking Hyper Beam, and I'd be like, oh shit, now my health is gone, so I have to restart the fight, which was interesting. I think the game is very kind to the player, in that it's like, hey, we saw you died, do you want to just come back and like, all the damage you did will still be done. How about that? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great to me. I'll just keep going like a child and not have to restart the fight, basically. So, yeah, I think it has some cool ideas. I think ultimately Pokemon Legends Arceus is far better as an experiment and as a unique new thing than Zar is. I think Zar is cool, but I think has too much copy and paste design of every mega fight feels the same. And the entire city just feels the same. And the structure of the progression is, well, you need to fight this big trainer to move on. So what do you got to do? You got to spend time at night going and fighting a bunch of trainers out in the wild to get your tickets, your challenger tickets. And then when you have enough challenger tickets, then you can fight the next person to up your rank. And then you can become rank C from rank D and stuff like that. And yeah, I think it was a bit too formulaic at the end of the day, and didn't switch things up enough. So it has ended up being, I think, a little bit hollow, a little bit flat. If it was 15 hours long, I think I would like this game a lot more than I do. But it just keeps going, and I was kind of done with it. So, yeah, Pokemon Legends wouldn't recommend it. if you're trying to get back to Pokemon.
Shall,
there's better other options.
Shall we drop it, or is it a potential number 10?
I don't think it's at number 10.
Okay.
I think we drop it. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond.
Beyond.
I've now beaten this game. You've also beaten this game.
Yep.
I'm fairly negative on this game, I think, is how I came away feeling. I think that I waited quite a while between sort of wrapping up the final stuff and then doing the ending. And the ending I found very underwhelming. Like you, MBZ, I found that boss long and tedious, and I died, and I was like, I don't even want to try this 3 times like MBZ did. I'm just going to...
I tried it like 6 times, by the way.
Man,
I spent
Jesus.
a lot of...
I tried it once, turned it down to easy, and then beat it, because that's a weakness with Metroid Prime full stop, not just this game, but some of the boss fights can just get little bit too bullet spongy,
very sluggish,
windows to do lots of damage, and I just wasn't liking it. And then there's the issues that the rest of the game has, where they've changed a lot of the traditional formula of Metroid Prime, and then they've not really replaced the bits they've taken away with things that feel amazing or great, and I think... I always say, like, I'm not against series being turned on their head. Look at, like, Breath of the Wild. But you got to replace the traditional formula with something that's spectacular. And that's just not what Metroid Prime 4 is at all. Like, and this isn't just, you got to judge the game for what it is, not what it isn't. It's just like, but what is there feels quite dry by comparison. And I am in line with like what a lot of people are saying, where you go into these dungeons and there's a save room, and then you go through a very linear dungeon, and then there's another save room, and then a boss. Like, that's not how Metroid Prime should be structured. And while these dungeons were fun for the most part, and there's some good vibes, there's some eeriness, running around the Metroid Prime full stop just feels fun. Like the Morph Ball feels fun. I don't think there were anywhere near enough Morph Ball like puzzles and challenges and secrets like I'd like to see in Metroid Prime games. That's one issue. But the running around, the basic formula of Metroid Prime is probably still there and feels good. And I would argue this game should be on our list. I just think it should be quite low down our list, because there's nothing about it that makes me go, wow. And like you, MBZ, I enjoyed the bike. I don't mind collecting the green things. The desert is fine. Like I said before, my biggest issue with the desert is the back and forth of the areas around the desert. So you have to go into an area, like going back to Fury Green so many times in this game, and you have to go through like an area to link down a corridor that then catapults you across an area to walk through 3 more rooms. I don't like that. It's just it's now people will say, but the alternative is just walking back across a map like you would in Metroid Prime 1. You're not wrong, but the vibes of walking back across a map, there's just something about it that sits much better with me than the idea.
It's not only that, it's the fact that when you are walking back across that map, you have changed and evolved from an ability standpoint to the point that it means that when you are going back through that map, there is purposeful reason to it, because you're finding upgrades and abilities along the way in order to progress. So there is it's a degree to which the backtracking is built into the purposefulness of the design, which it is not, I would argue, in Prime 4.
Yeah, it's all just a bit meh, and it just feels like the vision got very confused with whatever delays and restarts and rebooting this game has had. It just doesn't feel right. There's good stuff in there. Some of the boss fights are good. I think the opening is strong. I think getting your bike and doing that whole lightning area, the thunder area, I've forgotten the name of it, like it's Vault Forge, it's good generally. I think it's still very linear, and I have my criticisms there, but it feels good. It's just the back half of the game just like kept going. I never felt like motivated to get back to this game and keep playing it. It felt more like a chore, and that's never a good feeling, even though I think big parts of this game were fun and well designed. I'm very conflicted on this game. I don't think it's anywhere near the top of this list, but I can.
No.
It is in my personal top 10, but
Okay.
it's not high. And I think.
Would you rather have Mario Kart World on this list or Metroid Prime 4 on this list?
I'd rather have Metroid Prime 4. I think it is a stronger game. I think it is, as disappointing as it is, it's less disappointing than Mario Kart World.
Yeah.
I think the highlight of both games probably still goes to Mario Kart World. I think that whole Rainbow Road sequence is actually really cool. And like I said, I want to go back and play it. But Metroid Prime is Metroid Prime. It still feels like Metroid Prime. It's very satisfying to play. It is good. I've also not mentioned, like, there's one new ability, the whole, like, psychic beam thing that you shoot and do the whole beetle from Skyward Sword, and arguably it's a copy.
Yeah.
It's a copy of that move anyway. There's no other new moves. Putting the word psychic in front of a move does not make it new. It just makes it psychic, whatever psychic means in this context. And I've not even got to the story. I think the story is very weak, and like I don't think Metroid Prime stories are very strong in the first place, but they're still much stronger than this. And a bit like we were saying about Split Fiction, it's not a game that needs a good story, but you really notice it when it's a properly duff story. And
well, like Dread doesn't have much of a story, but I think Dread's story is extremely impactful, and I think it's like,
and it's got some really nice, memorable moments and boss fights, and the way that the story links to bosses and suits and surprises. And I'm just spiraling a bit from playing Metroid Prime 4. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought at the start of this year that Metroid Prime and Mario Kart World would be barely scraping into a top 10? Like, I don't. Yeah.
And I don't think the bottom of this top 10 is looking particularly stunning in any case. Like, I think there's some.
No.
Like I don't think it's a incredibly strong year from a Nintendo perspective at the bottom, at least. So, I don't know.
No. Yeah.
Push it up for now?
Sure.
Okay.
That gives us 10 games.
It does.
At least.
See, I was going to say I would like Mario Kart at number 10. That'd be nice. But I don't think any of these other games deserve to be dropped in favor of Mario Kart. Don't know how you feel.
No, I know. I think you would probably come at the throat of Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, but I just think it's funny.
I forgot that was there.
I think Switch 2 Welcome Tour on this list is funny, and also it's good. So, do you want to? Do you want to get rid of my little boy Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour? He didn't do anything wrong. I mean, he did do something wrong. The Nintendo charged for him.
He cost money, and he had way too many quizzes, but he did have. You can't have a game with a few fun mini games.
Yeah, you can. Sure you can.
Over Mario Kart World, that was.
Yeah, Mario Kart World's shit video game. This is not.
I don't know why I'm fighting for Mario Kart World, but I just think that like, God, Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour.
I think this list should represent the year, okay, that Nintendo had. And the year that Nintendo had is, I think, slightly embarrassing because Mario Kart World should easily make a list for a Nintendo podcast. Easily. It should fucking back of the net make it. And the fact that it didn't, I think, just says so much about.
You're right. It would almost be a token favor to Nintendo to stick it at 10, and I get that. And I think you're very fair in not including it. And I don't have it in my personal top 10. Sounds like you don't either. So
I certainly do not.
I do not. So happy to drop it. Is there anything else in the bottom group that you think deserves to be higher? So we
haven't talked about the little.
Let's go to kind of play. Let's go for
it. Which I'll briefly touch on these. Yeah. So Tiny Bookshop, Absalom, Promise Mascot Agency, and Rift of the Necrodancer. The one I played the most of these is Promise Mascot Agency. Put about 4 hours into it. Really enjoyed it. I think it's a very interesting premise of essentially taking a Yakuza mini game and turning it into a full video game where you are this Yakuza who's been exiled to this island, and you have to basically repay your debts by doing like odd jobs for everyone around, and you're running this mascot agency, and you have these really weird fun characters like this. Your first mascot is a tofu block guy, and he's just sad. He's crying all the time. And you basically send these mascots off on missions of, hey, go to this kid's birthday party and be a fun time. But then sometimes the mascots will get into trouble. Like, oh no, there's a bunch of bees outside at the kid's party. So you then have to basically intervene and send other mascots to like help sort the situation out, which basically plays out like a mini card game. And it's very goofy, it's very silly. And I do want to finish it. It doesn't run the best handheld, so it might be not in its favor, I think, for Switch 2, because it's just on Switch 1, I believe. So it doesn't have any boosting nonsense going for it. So I think that makes it a little bit less easy to recommend. But yeah, I like it quite a lot. So Promise Mascot Agency would be probably the one I would push up here, but I don't know necessarily if it's going to knock anything else down unless you have something that you think doesn't make sense to be on this list.
I think you're much hotter on like Citizen Sleeper 2 than me, but
yeah. Well, I think the thing is with Citizen Sleeper 2 is we've both played it.
Yes.
And not that should be a reason for something to be on the list, but I think
it can help. But yeah,
it helps, and also it is a good still game. Very good.
It's a very good game.
It's very, very good. I think it's just circumstance that has made it less.
Sounds like you don't want to shift your precious Nintendo Switch to Welcome Tour. I can't believe I said those words.
I think we should just keep it because it's funny. And I honestly, even though Promise Mascot Agency is probably a better video game, I think that Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour is funnier to be on this list than that is. Okay. So that's why.
Do you have any more to say about Kind of Played?
No, I mean, I would like to play more Absalom. I was enjoying that. The music is really good in Absalom.
I've heard very good things.
Wrath of Necrodance is cool. I think it's almost brain breaky, like the way that there are so many notes, so different types of notes, and the way that the notes work, it is actually quite challenging as a game. So it's one that I needed to spend more time with and get my brain around. And Tiny Bookshop I actually quite liked. It's like a light management sim, but I think the thing I like the most about it is that the books that you are selling are real books. Like,
oh, that's fun.
It'll be like, oh, this is the Two Towers, and it'll have like a description of the book, and people will come to your bookshop and they'll be like, oh, I'm really looking for like an epic fantasy that stars elves, and you'll be like, oh, can I find? Oh, there's Lord of the Rings. I'm going to recommend you Lord of the Rings, basically. So stuff like that is really nice, and it rewards your knowledge of books, which I think is quite cool as like an external thing. So yeah, I do want to play more of that as well. I think it's really, really cool.
Awesome.
But yeah, I don't think I've basically played an hour of each of these aside from Promise Mascot Agency. So really not enough. Okay. So what do we think? Is that the 10?
I think I'm happy with this 10. Okay. Shall we run through the 10 very quickly in no particular order? We have Citizen Sleeper 2, Split Fiction, Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, The 100-Line Last Defense Academy, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, Hollow Knight Silk Song, Hades 2, Power Wash Simulator 2, Metroid Prime 4, Beyond.
Okay.
Shall we turn everything below it red?
Yeah. And I think that honorary number 10 should be Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour.
Okay, I agree. Let's do it. Yeah, fair enough.
I think it's come as far as being a joke, okay? But I think in all seriousness, it probably is the number 10 on this list, based on everything that we have said about it thus far, which is good things. Obviously, loads of good things. It's great. Everyone loves it. It's a video game. Okay. Number 9. I think like probably some of the games that I've played might be good to start slotting in that you have not had a look in at.
You'd rather that than Citizen Sleeper 2, or?
Yeah, I think Metro Prime and Citizen Sleeper 2 are both kind of like around this area potentially.
Okay.
For me personally, but again, we've both enjoyed Metro Prime 4, so that could be slightly higher. I would probably do Citizen Sleeper 2 at 9, maybe.
Okay.
And then, I don't know what else.
You're liking Last Defense Academy and Ragebound more than Sleeper 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I think those are probably going to end up a bit higher.
I think Metroid Prime, I don't see Metroid Prime 4 getting much higher than this. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, I think the only reason would be because, we've both played it, but that's not necessarily a good reason.
Yeah.
If we're both a little lukewarm on it. And so I think the lukewarm vibes of it and the disappointment, I think, is well represented at a number 8 slot on a list.
Yes.
It's still there. It's still respectable, but it's also I'm a little disappointed in you. You know, number 8. I think it says a lot.
It's like, what have you done? Why?
Yeah, you've been a naughty boy, Metro Prime 4. We expected so much more of you.
You could have been number 1 in the heartbeat.
You're right,
You could have been number 1.
Yeah.
And you're quite a long way off getting number 1.
Quite a ways, I will say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's 10 is Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, 9 Citizen Sleeper 2, 8 Metroid Prime 4 Beyond as things stand. Nominees for 7.
I think I'd probably put Power Wash here.
Okay.
At 7. Just because it didn't actually make my personal list.
Interesting.
But it's just good relaxing time, you know. And I like it a lot. So, and then I would probably take 100 Line and Ninja Gaiden and put them after that. I think that probably makes most sense to put
Which
those
order?
in
6 and 5. That'll be right.
Yeah. So I like Ninja Gaiden more. So I'd put that higher. So I'd do 100 Line at 6 and then Ninja Gaiden at 5, I think. Probably.
Are you going to play much more 100 Line?
Yeah, I will. I do want to play more of it. It's intimidating and there's a lot of it. So it's just one of those, like, can I make time for it type of games, which usually is hard. You know, I've been sitting here being like, I've got to get back to UFO 50 the whole year, and that's not happened. So, but I would like to. In an ideal world, in a perfect universe, yes, I would play more 100 Line Last Defense Academy, because I think there's a lot of stuff that I've not seen that I would like to see. So, yeah. Okay, cool. So that's the bottom half of the list.
So we have a
relatively
top
simple
4
to put together.
Which,
yes,
I think this top 4 are quite a jump ahead of the rest.
I agree, yes. In terms of our joint passion for it, in any case.
I think a pretty straightforward 4 is probably Split Fiction.
I agree, yes. Split Fiction, I think, is number 4 on this list.
I think there's still some fantastic design in there. It deserves to be on this list and fairly high up this list.
Yeah.
Just not as impactful as the first game, but also, you know, there's a few little pacing issues. A lot of people had pacing issues with It Takes Two, and I never felt them quite as much because I think we were just so delighted to be playing this awesome co-op platforming game. And
yeah, it's so fresh and like unique.
Yeah,
it did so much, that game. And also fucking bizarre and weird, and like
yes. Yeah.
The whole elephant thing is still, I still think about it and I'm like, what the fuck was that?
This game still has quite a lot of bizarre in it, maybe not quite as much.
A little bit. Yeah, nothing near as close to as baffling as that was, but yeah, my God. What game?
Looking back, we didn't mention it at the time, but I really hate the whole British and American thing, the whole country town vibe, the whole
the town mouse, country mouse. Yeah.
No, did not like that at all. But yeah, no, it deserves to be.
I think
4.
that makes sense. I think number 4 is where it's like the highest it can go, basically, based on these other games.
If for that last level alone, it should be number 4 on this list. Yes. Right, so now we've got top 3: Donkey Kong Bonanza, Hollow Knight Silk Song, and Hades 2. Okay, this could be interesting. Shall I share my thoughts on Hades 2?
Sure. I was going to say, I think I know what number 3 is.
I think you do know what number 3 is. I think we will probably agree. Number 3 should be Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Correct. Okay. That is the correct choice. That is the correct answer. It's the correct opinion to have.
Correct.
Number 3 is Donkey Kong Bonanza.
It's great. It is so good. It was fresh, different. I love the new DK. It's no Mario Odyssey, but God, it comes damn close. And there's a few pacing issues, like we said before, but I'd play another one of these. I'm interested where Donkey Kong goes from here. But yeah, the other 2 games above it are very special in their own right.
These are the games. These are the 2 games of Nintendo Switch 2 for this year, in fact. Like, unique in indie games that actually got a Switch 2 edition, but obviously sequels to 2 of the best games of the last decade.
If these were the first game in their series, Nintendo would be like, I'm sorry, who are you?
Right, exactly.
We're not getting a Nintendo Switch 2 edition on launch. Like, don't be silly.
That said, Hades 1 did come first to Switch.
Good point.
The benefit of that, though, is the fact that it wasn't early access for a year, so they probably had a lot of numbers they could prove to Nintendo, being like, hey, actually, we sold like a lot of copies already. You guys might want to get on this for 1.0, so I think that's probably what ended up happening for Hades 2. Okay, Bally, lay it on me.
Right, 45 hours, credits, Hades 2. I am extremely impressed by this game. I really loved Hades. I think you loved Hades more than me. I think there were aspects of Hades where I could never get the game into position where I could guarantee I would successfully do a successful run. I think I had my favorite items. I had weapons, I should say. I had different boons that I particularly liked. But I very much felt like it was a real gamble every time I was getting to the latter stages of runs, and I was really struggling at points. And sometimes I could brute force action skill my way through them, and that was cool. But then sometimes it's just like, oh no, you're not good enough, you're dead. Too bad. Goodbye. And it felt very like, but I thought I was okay at this game, but I'm getting my ass handed to me. I think Hades 2, they really dial up the knobs in a way with Menace in a way that I absolutely love. And what I mean by that is I think the Arcana cards fundamentally change the game in a huge way. I think that Hades 2 is far more, the skill is in creating the build far more so than skill in the sticks and skill in the action. And I got this game to a point where I knew that if I selected certain things and played my Arcana cards right, so when I'm talking about Arcana cards, I'm talking about like, use the thing that boosts 40% damage inside a cast, use the thing that boosts 40% if the enemy is inflicted by 2 effects from boons. Use the thing that means that if your magic meter is not at 100%, they also take an extra 40 damage. Creating builds that synergize those 3 abilities in particular on top of a bunch of other Arcana cards that helped me, I was able to get the game into a position where I could consistently beat both downstairs and upstairs to the point where I did like 14, 15 runs in a row of both downstairs and upstairs, like collecting wins to beat the game. There were a series of runs upstairs where I met who is the third boss voiced by Ben Starr?
Oh, Prometheus.
So I beat Prometheus the 3rd time I met him, and I don't think that would ever have been possible with Hades 1. And what I mean by that is I met him, I learned his moveset, and then I made sure that my build going into that fight was appropriate. And in my opinion, it was the build that carried me through, and I defeated Prometheus and went on to the next area rather than, now I'm really skillful in terms of action and beating this game. And all of this combined together just created this incredibly satisfying synergy of menus and speaking to characters and learning the Arcana cards and thinking about how boons can work in really unique ways on a level that I wasn't thinking about with Hades 1, and a very satisfying, like, I've really thought through how I want this Menace build to go, and I can actually beat this game with multiple weapons in a more satisfying way than I could with Hades 1. And this game just did so many things that were so satisfying on all these levels. I think the inclusion of upstairs plus downstairs was fantastic. I liked that downstairs was considerably easier, in my opinion, than upstairs, and that meant you could almost do test runs of builds going downstairs. And obviously you have to go upstairs and downstairs to progress story. So I was doing like test run builds downstairs to then use upstairs and this kind of thing. And this all just came together in a way where I just loved this game so much more than the first game. And arguably, is this just more of the same of Hades 1 in some ways? But for me, it's completely different. I think the way that Menace plays, and like I've just said about the builds, the way you use casts and that she is sprinting more so than dashing, and I think the weapon variety, she has a pseudo mech suit and this kind of thing, and the way that hammers can bend the powers of these different weapons, I think felt fundamentally so much more evolved than Hades 1, and really gelled with how I feel about roguelikes and Hades. Like I think this is my favorite roguelike of all time. Not that I've played that many, but like it's
Right.
It's a really special game for me, and I went in expecting to love Hades 2. I love it so much more than I thought I would, and it is so much higher in my mind than Hades 1. And
Wow.
I can talk about my Silksong thoughts shortly, but for me, this is the top of the list.
Wow, it's really interesting because Hades 2 is, I agree, fantastic. I think it has such a level of craft from a gameplay standpoint. It just feels like butter in the hands. It is joyful and just ridiculous in terms of its options. Like, some of the builds I put together are just like, I'm just cackling at how explosive they are, how like the entire screen is like on fire because of something that I've put together, some kind of like unique attribute that has merged the ability of my weapon with a random hammer, and then I find this other thing that suddenly takes it to a new level, and it's just, wow, you just feel spectacular. I know that you played the patched ending of the game, which is slightly different from the ending that I played. I know it's not significantly different, but I do feel that the narrative of Hades 2 is lacking to some degree. I think through early access, I was like, okay, yeah, we're not going to get too much revealed here because it's still early access. We're just doing a lot of kind of chats with people. And I do think that they wrote themselves into a corner from the very beginning with this game, really, when it comes down to, well, the stakes are so much higher and you have this war on two fronts, and it's serious this time. It's not just angry teenager in his basement and his dad doesn't want him to, find out about the mother and all that sort of stuff, right? The first game, I think, has grounded stakes, and I think also works beautifully with the roguelike formula narratively, right? Like, I think it just is table set so well. And I think ultimately there were so many ways in which they could have resolved it, and I just don't think they do a good job with Hades 2 in terms of resolving the narrative and making it make any fucking sense at all. Like, I feel like part of the reason that I haven't gone back to Hades 2 as much is, like, there is less purpose to continuing to do runs. Like, they explain it, but it doesn't really make much sense, if I'm honest. And I think that's a little deflating. That said, I do want to continue to play and go back and play more of Hades 2. I think the issue, Bally, is that Hollow Knight Silksong is simply one of the best games ever made by anyone who has ever existed. It is utterly spellbinding. It is unbelievable from a craft perspective, from a level design and world design and just lore, something I don't think I fucking care about in anything. Like, the world and the lore and how it all ties together from the first game, which I also don't care about that much. The fact that these bosses, these spaces are so, they're designed within an inch of their life. It is unreal how spectacular every element of this is. Like, it doesn't feel like a video game. It feels like a world that I went to and explored and discovered, and just never ends, is full of richness in terms of its locations and the abilities that you're able to find, the way in which its side quests are, in many ways things that you could say, you're just going and collecting things and doing that sort of stuff, but it always feels like it's feeding through to that goal of...
You're always rewarded with something unique, even if some of the side quests feel a little bit... predictable is an overstatement, but just like a little simplistic in parts. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I always wanted to do them because it would help me get some currency in order to buy a thing that I wanted, and everything is so expensive, and the way that they kind of illustrate that idea of, certain bugs who have all the wealth up in the Citadel versus the ones who are in the Underworks who don't, and the benches you have to pay for, the way that you return to these areas and it feels living. You go back to Bone Bottom, and because you've fought that fucking tyrant bug, it just, another one of its kind of like group comes and destroys the place that you built from the beginning. It feels breathing. It feels like a living space where your actions have real effects, not to mention what happens in Act 3, which I won't spoil for you because you've not got there, but the world changes significantly. And the fact that they do that on such a scale it's fucking unbelievable. It would be unbelievable if not for the fact that we know that they spent almost a decade working on this game to bring it to a place of pure perfection. And there's a lot of discourse about difficulty, all this sort of stuff. I never got frustrated with runbacks. I never got annoyed with bosses being too difficult. I always felt that it was in my means, within my grasp, in order to overcome these challenges. And overcoming these challenges is some of the most satisfying feelings I've had in a game in a long time. I was a man possessed. I could not put this game down. I played it according to now Nintendo's new app that tells you how much you played it. I played it for at least 2 hours every day the day it came out until I finished it. It is just an utter masterclass. I think it doesn't put a foot wrong. I think it's I don't want to call it flawless, but like it's a game that I believe to be perfect from the sense of their intention of what they wanted to create and what was created. I honestly don't think there is a foot wrong with Hollow Knight Silksong, and that's why for me it is a step above everything else this year. Even Expedition 33, which I thought was fantastic and one of the best RPGs I've played, Hollow Knight Silksong is my number one game of this year, and it is because it is such vision. It is a purity of vision executed to like the highest level of craft possible. Like, we haven't even talked about the soundtrack, which is fucking astonishing. Mm-hmm. The clockwork dancers, which is one of my favorite boss fights in any game I've ever played at this point in time. Like, the narrative implications of that and how you then follow that through Act 2 and Act 3 to continue a story that goes along with it. Just like maybe one of the best 2D games I've ever seen. I cannot say enough good things about Hollow Knight Silksong. And despite Hades 2 being a sequel to one of my favorite games ever and just being tremendously fun and incredibly well put together, it puts more steps wrong than Hollow Knight does for me. So that's why Hollow Knight Silksong is my choice for number one.
All right.
And I wonder, Bally, had you had time to play the rest of it and see more of the game, if you would feel the same, or if it would be such a beat down in terms of its difficulty that you wouldn't be able to come to that conclusion. But
I mean, I still beat 9 Souls. I think I could beat Hollow Knight Silksong. I also have admitted that I think my build was weaker than yours in Silksong, and I would happily switch to a build more similar to yours. I've forgotten the name of your...
the Wanderer's Crest.
Wanderer's Crest, exactly. Like, my crest was what, the big slow one? I can't remember what's called.
Yeah, the Reaper. I think you used, yeah.
So I think the Reaper is probably better suited to certain bosses, but I think for the majority of bosses, I think the Wanderer's Crest is probably stronger. Would Silksong be higher if I beat all of Act 3? Yeah, depends how beat down I would feel versus, wow, this is cool and interesting, fresh stuff. I think it has a chance of maybe getting above Hades 2 for me personally. There is no way any of these games for me personally are coming close to Expedition 33.
God, Expedition 33 is fantastic, but there's no, it's not even close to Silksong Valley. It's like fucking miles away from Silksong. Like, it's not even a contest for me.
I hear you, but I'm just a sucker for Expedition 33. I can't be moved from that in terms of like battle mechanics, music, the story. I think the ending I vibed with a lot more than you as well.
I really do not like the ending of Expedition 33. I think it is one of the worst parts of it, and definitely played a factor in dragging it down compared to, because it definitely was high on my list for most of this year. Yeah. But it just it was not something that I thought was very well put together, considering the rest of the game and what the rest of the game was trying to say. It just felt very off to me. But again, that's not part of this conversation. It's a different conversation, doesn't?
Yes.
Until it comes to Nintendo console, which it probably will next year, to be honest.
I mean, hypothetically, it sounds like Silksong and Clair Obscur would have a bit of a battle off if we did want to do a
yes, 100%. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think I'm happy to put Hades 2 at 2 versus your Silksong passion. I think that you definitely have more passion for Silksong than I have for Hades 2. But I absolutely loved Hades 2 so much more than I thought.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I think what they do with Typhon and the final boss of Upstairs, I think they just force you to break the game as much as possible. And everything I was saying about the Arcana cards, as much as I felt like I was really mastering the systems and getting on top of it. Like I felt like I had to do those just to even stand a chance against Typhon. Like the game really pushes you, because that fight is just relentless. There are so many moves in Hades 2 that one-shot your characters, across not just bosses, but there's regular enemies in some of the later areas that just do so much damage that you have to be so switched on to mitigating those factors that it's a real step up. I was very impressed, but I do owe it to you and to everyone and to myself to play more Silksong. I do want that to be something I do. Will I reach the echelons of your thoughts on Silksong? I'm not overly convinced I will. I think I'll come much closer. And like I said, nothing's going to ever touch Clair Obscura for me. But that's just to do with taste, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, final position? Hades 2, number 2. Hollow Knight, number 1.
Hades 2, I think, should be number 2. Obviously, I want it 1, but I think... How can I get in the way of your speech? I can't beat that. Can't beat that passion. So I think it's going to have to be Hollow Knight Silksong, which is also a game I absolutely love. From the part I have played, I absolutely loved it.
And to be clear, I would have loved for Hades 2 to come in here this year and been the thing. Part of the difficulty with Hades 2 is it had such an impact on me last year as well, because I played it in early access for like 35 hours.
I'm interested in your views. My understanding is that the new stuff for 1.0 was Prometheus and Typhon and Olympus.
No, Prometheus was already in the game. Okay. Typhon was also already in the game because I beat Typhon a month before Hades 2 came out for the first time.
Jeez. I thought it was only up to Eris was the all that you got upstairs.
So that was the first drop of early.
Okay,
that was when it first came out. Then throughout the period of early access, they added Prometheus and then they added Typhon, but they didn't finish the story stuff until 1.0, basically.
Okay, yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense then, because as you say, the story is one of the weaker aspects of the game. Yeah,
unfortunately, and I think that is the thing that just kind of takes it down a peg. It just doesn't have the cohesion, right? And I think that is something that I've learned this year about myself, of like, okay, I say I don't care about stories in games, but I think stories are important insofar as they act as this cohesive glue to the totality of an experience, right? Like, I don't think Silksong is as strong without the narrative elements of it, the world building that it exudes. I think it doesn't work as cohesively otherwise, and I think Hades 2 lacks that, Split Fiction lacks that, so it kind of puts them down a little bit, chips them down in terms of what they mean. So there you go. That's the list. Bally, do you want to count us down?
Yes.
With our top 10 games 2025?
Number 10, Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. Number 9, Citizen Sleeper 2. Number 8, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Number 7, Power Wash Simulator 2. Number 6, The 100-Line Last Defense Academy. Number 5, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. Number 4, Split Fiction. Number 3, Donkey Kong Bonanza. Number 2, Hades 2. And number 1, Hollow Knight Silksong is the TNL Nintendo Game of the Year.
Can you believe a Hades game has never won Game of the Year on this show? Because we're fucking Metroidvania sickos. That's why. Because Ori won the first time and Silksong has won the second time.
We are Metroidvania sickos. That is undeniable. I will give you that. Also, obviously, making up our GOTY T number 1 of the year.
Hades 1 should have been our Game of the Year. I succumbed to the Ori pill at the end of the day.
Ori's too good.
That's what happened. It's very good, but it's not quite as good as Hades 1. But anyway, that's a debate that's lost in time now. We'll never go back to it. It's stuck forever.
So do you prefer Hades 1 to 2?
I think Hades 1 is a better game than Hades 2 at the end of the day, yeah. I think if you look at it from a overall perspective, yes, I do think Hades 1 is a superior game. And that's from a cohesive standpoint, because narratively Hades 1 just makes so much more sense and works so much better, and you can keep playing Hades 1 and it logically tracks, and I basically maxed everything out in Hades 1, and I have not done that yet in Hades 2, and I think my motivation to do it is less because of the narrative situation you find yourself in after rolling credits on Hades 2. So
yeah, I agree with your narrative. I just didn't. This is normally what your line is. It just didn't impact me as much.
It just didn't matter as much.
I was just there for the mechanics, the way my brain works. But yeah, that's
for sure. Cool. Well, that's it. I think that's the final podcast of 25. It's definitely still 2025, guys. We'll see. We're definitely not late at all.
But what did the listeners think? Is what I want to know.
This is a great question, Bally. I love that you asked this question. Of course, I went to the TNL audience and I asked them, hey, what are your favorite games of the year 2025? And they mostly listened to me and gave me correct answers, but they also gave me some wrong answers because I said, hey, games on Switch and Switch 2, did that stop Expedition 33 being on this list? Certainly didn't, because some people wrote it in anyway, so it's part of the thing here. But let's. I've got a top 10 here, Bally, of everybody voting. So at number 10 we have joint number 10. Number 10 place. We have a joint spot between Xenoblade X Definitive Edition and Ball Pit, both at number 10 together. So Ball Pit and Xenoblade X.
Did Definitive Edition come out this year?
I guess so. It must have done because people voted for it. So that must have happened early in the year and before Switch 2 came out.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Got you.
Yes, yeah. There was a world before the Switch 2 existed,
weird.
everybody. Okay. At number 8, we had Blueprints, so people continue to not listen. So Blueprints is number 8, despite not being on a Nintendo console, but there you go. At number 7, we have Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which, despite not being there yet, probably will be this year. Blueprints and Expedition 33 will both probably end up being on Switch 2, I think, in 2026. That would make some sense, given their success on other platforms. Okay, number 6, Bally, is Metro Prime 4 Beyond.
Okay.
They managed to make it, scrape it in there. So some people were riding for it.
It's about to get beaten by Kirby, isn't it? That's what's about to happen right now. I feel it.
No, funnily enough, no Kirby here. Number 5, we have Mario Kart World. So some people less disappointed than we are in it. So it still made it to number 5. At number 4, we have Pokemon Legends Czar at number 4. Now
feels like Welcome Tour isn't making the list. So at least, that's something.
I think maybe one person wrote Welcome Tour, but
you're not allowed to vote on the list, MBZ, though.
No, I'm not, unfortunately. I couldn't put my Game of the Year Welcome Tour onto the list. The top 3 here, there is very tight points-wise, the top 3. There is 1 point between number 3 and number 2.
Oh my god, okay.
At number 3 is Hades 2, which got pretty close there. Number 3 did very well. And number 2, 1 point more than it, is Hollow Knight Silk Song. That's eking out.
Interesting.
Meaning that number 1 is Donkey Kong Bonanza. Now, here's the interesting part. Silk Song by far had the most number 1 choices. Looking at the list, it's like, oh my god, everybody voted for Silk Song for their number 1.
To be clear, you're weighting the vote 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Correct.
You're not giving number 1 12. You can do like 12, 8.
No.
You can do 12, 10, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3 if you want.
Correct. Yes. No. It's 5 points for number 1, 1 point for number 5.
Okay, got
basically,
you.
is the idea. So using a top 5 system.
Yes.
And Silk Song was the people who voted for it pretty much universally put it at number 1, which I was like, oh wow, this means it's probably going to sweep everything. But Donkey Kong had consistency. Donkey Kong, people put it at number 2, they put it at number 3, they put it at number 4, and at number 1. So overall, despite having fewer number 1 votes, Donkey Kong was the most consistent across everybody. So
very good.
Donkey Kong Bonanza as the TNL game of the year.
It's a very good game. That is a very good pick by the community. I'm very happy about that. It's special. Even though it completely screwed my fantasy critic, it is a very special game. Well,
you should have made better choices, Bally. Maybe this year. GOTY to GOTY was interesting because people are writing in different things of like, oh, what did they get to this year? Is there any kind of crossover between different series and things like that? The one that I would call the GOTY to GOTY for everybody, which makes a lot of sense given people talking about it in the Discord, it was number 1 for 3 people. It was number 2 for 1 person. In a GOTY to GOTY, which of course is 1,000 times resist.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I was going to say there's probably a 2024 bias on this list, but that's okay. That's
yeah.
I would like to play that game. Very good.
Yeah, for sure. So hopefully it's not been overhyped for you, Bally, but we will require you to play it in the year of 2026. Another game that popped up a couple of times was Hades 1, so a few people going back to that, which is interesting. Yakuza, a few different Yakuzas popping up. 0, Like a Dragon, 6, Kiwami, so a few different people playing Yakuza. Portal 1 and Portal 2 both popped up on the list, which is cool.
Do you have a ranking?
What do you mean?
This is just ranking? Like a general, like everyone's played.
Well, so this is the thing, because it's GOTY to GOTY,
yes.
people are just writing in whatever, right? So I've picked out what I thought were some of the things that popped up a little more frequently. Yeah. Someone had 9 Souls on their list, which I thought was cool, based on our GOTY to GOTY, so that was in there. There was a bunch of Final Fantasy 14, which my guess is one person played every expansion this year, so that was kind of consistent across the list. And then a TNL favorite, Mini Shoot Adventures.
Was yes,
so,
what a game! Yeah, honestly, people need to play that game. How is that game not on Switch? Yeah, it is ridiculous.
Yeah, we gotta get it on there somehow. But that was there's a little bit of a boiled down version of what people were playing at GOTY to GOTY. If you want to read some more of what people have been playing, people have been posting their list with write-ups on the Discord. So go ahead and check that out on our Discord that you can find a link to in the description. And yeah, you can go in there and chat with people about video games. Lots of anime bullshit as well, as per usual. But yeah, that is the TNL Community GOTY for 25. So thanks everybody for participating in that.
Thank you.
And we'll do it again next year, and we'll see how we go. Cool. I think that is pretty much going to do us. So let's get on out of here and plug stuff, Bally. People can, of course, find us on various places on the internet, and they can support us by going to patreon.com/ThisNintendoLife. And we'd like to thank some of our supporters.
Yes, thank you to our $10 tier plus patrons. They are Sullivan C, Zach S, Thomas, Matthew, Albert, Wicked Gamer UK Alan, Orange Thunder, Nintendo Man, Turtle, and Ali T. Thank you all for your $10 tier plus support, but also a huge thank you and a big shout out to all our other patrons and all the support that you have given us through 2025. You really keep the show on the road. We really, really appreciate it. It's very, very, very helpful to us, especially in playing and buying all the games that we choose to play and buy. So thank you.
Absolutely. So yeah, looking forward to some more Nintendo shows and things of that ilk in 2026. You can obviously find us in various places on the internet. You can find me on Blue Sky at NBZ. Where can they find you, Bally?
On Blue Sky at Ballyman91. That's BALLYMAN91.
Fantastic. You can find the podcast on there as well at TNL Podcast, where you can go to get updates about the show and what is happening, such as this one not coming out until now, and you're listening to it. You can, of course, find us in various places, download us, Spotify, Stitcher, all those regular spots. And
we have a YouTube channel with some Game of the Year videos.
Yes. So Bally's YouTube video is up there, and mine is up on my own personal YouTube channel. Yes. So we'll pop those onto the feed as well, and you can listen to them in audio form if you so wish, but the video version is kind of the priority there, so that's what takes precedent, and you can go watch those and see our thoughts on the video games that were not just Nintendo, but non-Nintendo as well. I wonder what Bally's number 1 was. Who could guess? So you could go and take a look there at that as well. You can obviously email the show as well, and we will be getting to some emails next time because it's time for our predictions, Bally, for 2026. And be good to get some thoughts from the audience on that. So where can they email those to?
Please send your emails to thisnintendolife@gmail.com. That is thisnintendolife@gmail.com. We also want your predictions over on the Discord server. We have a channel. It is called Emails. Tell us your Nintendo predictions for 2026 over there, and we will get through as many as possible on the next show.
Yep. So look forward to that. And I think that should be everything. So thanks everybody for listening. And we'll obviously be back here soon with some more podcasting about Nintendo and video games. and things surrounding all of that. So until then, thanks for listening, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.
It's that time again. It is time for my personal top 10 games of the year. It is the one video I make every single year. I actually felt that this year was a very interesting year for games. I think that this year, more than most, I felt I personally played more of the top games that are being kind of discussed as GOTY contenders and this kind of thing, more so than normal. But maybe I guess everyone's just finally copying my tastes and everyone's coming to me rather than the other way around, who knows. This game, Dispatch, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I just really didn't like the way that things wrapped up, and I felt that the dispatching just took far too long in the end, and I still think the VO, the acting is fantastic, and overall Caroline and I had a really good time playing that game. But you don't want to listen to number 11 and 12, you want to find out what is in my top 10, so let's get to it. Number 10, Ghost of Yotei. It might not be doing too much new, but Ghost of Yotei is an incredibly solid and visually spectacular open world game. The reason this game is on this list is because the strong formula of Tsushima returns and still plays silky smooth. Atsu is an impressive character to play as, and bludgeoning your way as a woman through a very traditional and conservative-minded Japan is fun to see, whether engaging with friend or foe. I wanted more from Yotei's story and sadly didn't get it, but when you have a game with such strong combat in a setting like Hokkaido, what's not to love? Number 9, Lonely Mountains Snow Riders. If you imagine how you would want the perfect skiing game to feel when it comes to the relationship between the analog stick and the exact way it is used to carve out snow on screen, Lonely Mountains Snow Riders is that game. It just feels so good, and the visual clarity with every slope is so stark and gives the game, like its predecessor, a very chill vibe. Stick in a multiplayer mode that is so tense, having you race from checkpoint to checkpoint against another player, and you have a near perfect skiing game. I'll admit, even if MBZ ended up beating me most of the time, once he learned the game had a break button, this game still deserves to be on this list. Just. Number 8, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Wow, yes. Metroid Prime at number 8 on a Bally list. If you don't think you believe it, I don't really either. Metroid Prime 4 takes some of the best elements of Metroid Prime away and replaces them with aspects that are just fine. Breath of the Wild proves you can turn a formula on its head and still create something spectacular, but Prime 4 doesn't take bold moves. It just kind of takes some half-hearted moves that mess with what is the fine balance of Metroid Prime. I don't mind biking across the desert, but traipsing back and forth just for basic upgrades was frustrating. I also don't mind the cast of characters, but please put them into a story that I care a bit more about. The end of this game left me feeling pretty confused and quite indifferent. There's still some pretty nice stuff in here, and I did overall have a good time with this game. While mainly linear, the dungeons had some nice vibes and a handful of decent bosses. I think the overall package of this game felt very odd. It's hard not to see conflicts in what the vision of this game was meant to be. I was super excited for Prime 4, but sadly it's made me feel a little nervous about the whole Prime series going forward. Number 7, South of Midnight. In terms of characters, storytelling, and variety of locations that you visit, I was hooked on South of Midnight and cleared the game in a few days. While mechanically the game is fairly simple, the storytelling that went into the boss fights in particular was awesome. Hazel discovering through the level how characters turned into the boss, normally through experiencing some form of trauma, is incredibly well done. Each boss is linked to a song all about the story beats you've just witnessed on how that boss came to be. It just makes the game's bosses feel like a real part of the world and can ground them in their fairy tale setting very effectively. With top-notch voice acting and an animation style that feels unique for third-person action, South of Midnight was a real surprise hit for me this year. My takeaway is that big budget video games really need to invest in newer, fresher means of storytelling like South of Midnight does through its music. Great stuff. Number 6, Spilled. Games you can play in a single sitting are underrated in my book. In just 45 minutes of Spilled, I'd engaged in a nice steady build up of mechanics to clean some oil spills, bottles and other mess while also taking in a simple but effective message about the environment. Spilled works because it feels slick to play and has some strong sound design when you're picking up different types of waste. The game never has you stay in one area too long and keeps things fresh with the simple upgrade system. You get the money and you make your limited number of upgrades better. Cleaning things in games is actually really fun. It must be the Mario Sunshine fan in me, but make that fun experience shorter and sharper and it makes it feel all the more satisfying. Number 5, Split Fiction. One of my highlights of the year was the final level of Split Fiction. I'd heard impressive things from reviews that had avoided spoiling it, but the sentiment was, you need to see it. When MZ and I made it to the last level, the main emotion was just laughing at how mad and innovative that level is. It really was a moment of the year. The mini side stories in this game were another highlight and were a great showcase of short, sharp ideas that often just last about 5 minutes. I liked how these side stories didn't feel like they had to link to any other part of the game and could just be a quick mechanic jump in and jump out of the level. It's perhaps the longer levels that occasionally did feel on the long side and I think would have felt even longer without the side stories to break them up. There were definitely 1 or 2 stages where one player definitely had a more engaging ability than the other. Yes, I was flying around as a dragon while MBZ was rolling around on the floor like a Goron. Joseph Fares and Hazelight have done it again, and while not as impactful as It Takes Two, Split Fiction still hit all the right notes in co-op design. It is kind of shocking how few games out there do co-op in this style, and for that reason, Hazelight can keep putting out these experiences. MBZ and I will keep playing them. Number 4, Donkey Kong Bonanza. My god, it felt awesome this year to see Nintendo go back to some 3D Donkey Kong after 26 years. It really is a rare event when Nintendo take one of their characters and put them in a fresh setting, and to do it with the Mario Odyssey team was the cherry on top. What I love is that when you think about Donkey Kong, you think about physicality and smashing things. As a big fan of Donkey Kong and Smash Brothers, his signature move is clapping his hands together and slamming MBZ off the stage. Bonanza evokes this feeling and gets straight to the heart of what Donkey Kong is all about. As a big fan of DKC games, Bonanza really pulled on all my nostalgia strings, and even though I have little reference to the original Donkey Kong game, the inclusion of Pauline was such a refreshing companion to discover the world with and find the next getaway to sit back and reflect. Because while Bonanza lacks a bit of the platforming challenge that I love about Mario, what it lacks in platforming challenge it makes up for in charm and heart. Number 3, Hollow Knight Silksong. So you go into yet another boss fight that just appears as you're exploring the world, and the boss does a move you fail to dodge, but this time something unbelievable happens that not a single other boss in the game has done. It's surprises like this and attention to world building that makes Silksong so special. I had a lot of time for the first Hollow Knight and I think it's a great Metroidvania, but it never reached my personal top tier for the genre. I really didn't expect Silksong to make it to that top tier, but it did. There's something about Farloom that stands apart from the first game. There's attention to detail in every single small part of this game. The characters, the cozy safe places in an otherwise eerie world combined with a ridiculously impressive soundtrack make Farloom a place that I want to be. Boss fights are a huge step up in Silksong, and even though some of these fights took me 3 to 4 hours, they always felt fair. The mastering and learning of bosses' moves and turning fights almost into a dance is my favourite type of 2D boss fight. Silksong does the intangible, hard to describe stuff the best. I can go on about how great the mechanics are and the world is so detailed and incredible, but honestly it's the feeling I have playing this game that just brings joy and warmth in a unique and memorable way. I have limited playtime just now, but one day I really want to see the rest of what this game has to offer post credits because it's an incredibly special game. Number 2, Hades 2. Getting to credits of Hades 2 didn't feel like an accomplishment of skill, but rather an accomplishment in mastering the systems the game had to offer in terms of builds. Beating Hades 1 felt like you needed a decent build and then your skill could pull you through. You simply can't do that in the harder runs of Hades 2. I love that the game forces you to maximize the use of your Arcana cards and work out exactly how you're going to build Millennium for a successful run. There were some bosses that would stomp me, but coming back with a better build, I could often defeat them on just the third run. It really felt like I had sussed out what my build should be, rather than my skill getting better in terms of action. Having paths to go to the surface as well as down below felt like such an upgrade in doubling the number of areas and bosses. It made it more fun to mix things up. With downstairs being easier, it was a nice place to test builds to use for upstairs. Hades 2 takes the already impeccable formula of the first game and adds an extra level of detail to turn the experience into more of a thinking game. Coming up with builds that felt like breaking the game didn't just become a thing to do for the sake of doing them, but were actually necessary to beating the game. It really does feel like Supergiant turned up all the knobs when it came to putting this game together. I didn't think I needed another 40 hours of Hades in my life, but now I actually kind of want 40 more. Well done, Supergiant. Number 1, Clair Obscur Exposition 33. You need to step back and take in just how ridiculous it is that Exposition 33 exists. I was as intrigued as everyone else when this game was part of Xbox's Summer Showcase last year. We were presented with an intriguing premise about a world where the paintress counts down a number on an obelisk annually and everyone below that age is removed from the world. Great premise, but I really didn't have high hopes for a first-time team putting together a game I'd be interested in on that level. Sure, the story looked cool, but what about the mechanics, the music, the world building? With such little time to play long games at this point in my life, my expectations for every turn-based RPG I play has to be incredibly high. When the sizzling reviews started to come in, I thought, yeah, I think I need to play this game at some point this year. But it was then NBZ contacted me and made clear that I shouldn't play this game later this year. I had to drop everything I was doing and play it right there and then. NBZ was not wrong. I'd been searching for a 3D turn-based RPG to really hit me hard after loving Final Fantasy VII Remake back in 2020, and Exposition 33 did exactly that. As a fan of live-action inputs in turn-based games such as Paper Mario and Sea of Stars, it felt amazing to learn the real-time counter mechanic and the level of detail put into the sound design to make you really feel the impact. That feeling felt as good on the final boss as it did on the very first Neveron mini-boss I managed to successfully counter in the very first area. Boy, does that battle system deliver. Sure, there are aspects that take getting used to, but learning Picto's combinations that can destroy enemies and synergize party members is a very, very satisfying loop. Where story was the greatest intrigue of the reveal trailer, I was left gobsmacked by the characters and the world at the end of each of the 3 acts. Any confusion about why things are the way they are is cleared up, and resolutions are reached in some pretty unconventional yet satisfying ways. For me, it's a story for the ages and one of the best I've ever witnessed in video games. It's hard to create a standout soundtrack in a turn-based RPG in 2025. For a genre that has so many incredible industry-renowned soundtracks, for first-time composer Lorient Testat to produce what can only be described as a masterpiece and stand above the soundtracks of other turn-based RPGs is the most incredible feat in gaming this whole year. I know Expedition 33 is getting its plaudits across so many places and outlets, and rightly so, but as a turn-based RPG fan, it's so nice to see a turn-based RPG make such big waves in an industry where series like Final Fantasy are moving away from their turn-based roots. To see Sandfall create something that feels so traditional and fresh at the same time is something I hope all developers working on RPGs can evolve on in the future. And there you have it, my top 10 games of 2025. Sword of the Sea, another game I enjoyed this year, but just not quite as impactful as previous Giant Squid games. I think that they just kind of they didn't feel fresh enough. I felt like I'd seen a lot of that game before, and with games like Journey and other similar games. But still a solid game, probably my honourable number 11 or 12. But yeah, that's me signing off. I hope you and your loved ones have had a lovely holiday season, and yeah, I'm looking forward to doing this all again in 2026. Let's do it.
Hello, it's the end of 2025. I'm MBZ. I'm doing a top 10 video of the video games which came out in this year that existed. Now, as you'll notice, it's different from usual, because usually it's just like editing and there's pictures on the screen. And there might be some of that, I don't know, I haven't done it yet. But I've been sick. I've been extremely ill, murdered, one might say, by the outside, and I have not had any time, didn't write anything, didn't do anything regarding nothing for this entire thing. So I'm just going to talk at you now, and you're going to like it, okay? Alright, good. Number 10 is Split Fiction. It's a game that I have a lot of issues with, just from a narrative perspective. It doesn't make much sense or have really any compulsion to it whatsoever. I think it might be one of the worst written games I've ever played. I think Joseph Fares is honestly at his best when his characters don't talk. Like Brothers, Tale of Two Sons. I think still my favourite of his oeuvre. Mainly because he doesn't have dialogue, and I think that just makes it a lot better. I think Split Fiction gets on the list because at one point in time, I was a pinball and Bally was a pinball machine, and then we just had to pinball the pinball through the machine, and that was very good and stupid. And I think that is where games like It Takes Two and Split Fiction really come into the forefront. Is like in It Takes Two, I was Grass that one time, and like, that's ridiculous. When a game can have that sense of nonsense about it and let the player engage with these fun systems and do silly things, I think ultimately it comes out to create something kind of cool. In a lot of ways, it is definitely better than his previous work in terms of, you know, the cooperative nature and some of the things you do, but I think just because it's kind of the same thing again, it doesn't land with as much impact. That said, I think the ending is kind of an all-timer. It's kind of mind-boggling what they do. I've not really seen any game do something like that before, and so I would say almost for the ending alone, the Split Fiction kind of has to be on this list, because we just sat there being dumbfounded about what the hell was going on. It was pretty fantastic. So yeah, Split Fiction is pretty good. Number 9 is Monster Hunter Wilds. I've never played a Monster Hunter. I mean, I've played like 17 demos of 17 Monster Hunter games over the years and have never understood it or really got it or knew why anyone cared about this at all. And then I got a code for Monster Hunter Wilds, just kind of out of the blue, and I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm playing this video game now. And I looked at some of the weapons and I picked a giant hammer, and here is the moment. I was at the training dummy, and the training dummy was just there to be hit, right? And so I got the hammer and I just started hitting it, and I think within about 10 seconds, I realized what the fuck everyone had been talking about for 25 years. You see, there's like this really visceral feeling of hitting a thing that I think video games obviously is very good at, because there's a lot of things to hit in video games, but a big giant tortoise guy, and I have a hammer, and he has like a little scar on his head, and I'm just bonking it again and again. There is a joy, there's just a love you can have for hitting something with a big thing, and it's just very good. I think ultimately I would love to play more Monster Hunter Wilds. It's kind of a shit show on PC, like hasn't been fixed still. I put like 20 hours into it and had a good time just going through the story, fighting giant, weird, flying monsters everywhere, and eventually I just fell off, but I think I would love to come back, because just hitting things with a giant hammer, I think, is maybe one of the best feelings that exists in games. Number 8 is the 100 Line Last Defense Academy, a video game that I counterpicked in my fantasy league because I thought the 2Kyo Games was on a losing streak. Bad for me, but also good for me, because I like their games. So Ushikoshi Kodaka, they formed the studio years ago, and they've really not put out anything good. I mean, on their own, individually, Zero Escape and Danganronpa, two of my favorite series ever, just like masterpieces of mystery and narrative. And they come out with this, which basically takes Fire Emblem and shoves that into it as well. And suddenly you've got this tactical time travel mystery narrative wild fucking thing going on, and it's good. It's very good. I think for me, the pacing of a game like a Zero Escape or a Danganronpa slightly has an edge on 100 Line, just because there is a pacing to the courtroom drama and finding out individual mysteries along the way to the grand mystery, whereas I think 100 Line has a grand mystery and there aren't enough little bits to get there to push you along. So I do think the pacing, especially in that first 100 days, is not all the way there. But I was very shocked by how much I really engaged with the combat, the turn-based stuff and how satisfying it is, how cool it is to almost like try and single turn one of these bosses by taking one character and just like buffing them in 7 different ways in order to position yourself into a place where you can just eliminate everything and not have to worry about anyone else in the field. It's a game that I have only put 45 hours into, which for most games is it's a stupid thing to say, but there is so many endings and things and stuff happening with this that I definitely need to go back to and finish properly at some point in time. Number 7 is Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. So on the podcast recently, we had this thing of like, you know, Thinky Boy, Movie Boy, Loopy Boy, look, all these different things that define games that Bally and I gravitate towards. Me being Movie Boy most of all, of course, which means games where you fucking jet around, you move, you're on a fucking skateboard or whatever the hell, you're just going neon white. Talk about games where speed is the key. Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is a game where you just run through levels and you hit people with a sword, and it feels fucking great. There is a kind of just visceral feeling of slicing through enemies, and especially when you have the big guys and you absorb the power and then you get the super mega hit and you do that on the big guys and then you get more from that guy and then you can use on another guy. There is just like a almost puzzle-like nature to defeating enemies in Ragebound, where they give you the tools necessary to take everyone out at speed, but it's about your thought process and your dexterity to do it and make sure that people all get split apart in like very equal fashion. Ninja Gaiden is like a more traditional arcade action game in a way that I wish maybe Shinobi were more like. I haven't played enough of Shinobi yet, but because it's a bit more Metroidvania, returny to area type of thing, feels less propulsive. I think propulsive is the word that kind of defines why Ragebound works for me. It has incredible pixel art, it just feels great. I just think it is a movie boy game by every definition and perfect for me in my brain. Number 6 is Nubby's Number Factory. Nubby's Number Factory is an interesting video game because it's £4 and it may give you more fun than something that is £200. Nubby's Number Factory is a game where you're a guy called Nubby, you're a ball actually, you've got a face, and you just throw yourself into a pit. And the pit is just pachinko but maths, where all the balls have numbers and then you hit them and they go down by half. So 4 goes to 2, 2 goes to 1, you get the deal. It's really good. I think there's lots of games where numbers go up and has become increasingly a genre that people like and just want to turn their brain off and not do anything. And of all of the ones that I've played, which is most, I feel like Nubby is the one that purely gets to the kind of idealized version of what this means, which is just, let's just get things to be stupid. That I think my highest score is undecillion. That's a number that I don't know what it even means or how it exists or how many zeros it has. But my score was 8 undecillion, and that just is stupid. The thing about Nubby is that Nubby is just great. This is shit. This whole thing is shit. Now, I'll be honest, when I first saw Nubby on his Number Factory, I thought, this looks kind of ugly, kind of old. Then you play it and you realize that you're stupid. And that's what I realized. Nubby is love. Nubby is life. Everybody should be Nubby. Nubby is 2025's greatest achievement, and if you don't play Nubby, then I just don't know what to do with you. Number 5 is Donkey Kong Bonanza. I didn't think Donkey Kong would ever come back. I thought he was there to just chill and maybe be in a movie one time, maybe to just be in a theme park for a bit of brand recognition. But Nintendo, maybe they're getting some synergisticness going on here with Donkey Kong. Because he's in Donkey Kong Bonanza. It's a video game where you punch things. I think Bonanza is good. I think it's really good. So the thing about Bonanza is that you just punch things a lot, and there's 3 buttons for just punching. And so there is an inherent desire to punch, and so that's what you do. Level design, schmavel design, I mean, it's there, but you can punch it. I do think from like a pacing perspective, Odyssey has the advantage from a 10-hour playthrough. Like if you do Odyssey from the beginning through to the end, 10 hours, just play it all through, there's a beauteous line of just creativity and marvel and interesting mechanics and changing to different creatures and becoming them and all this different stuff. And while Donkey Kong does have some of that, you know, you got the little seed thing in the hotel area and you got, you know, the floaty rocks in the fucking tropical land. I don't think it has that kind of punch, that kind of pizzazz, that kind of boom that Mario Odyssey has in terms of its first time playthrough. Doesn't mean it's worse, bad, wrong. It's great you punch things, as I've said. And I did enjoy it a lot, 100%. I got every fucking banana. Number 4 is Ooh. Ooh is one of those games where you look at it and you're like, ooh. Ooh is one of those games that is pure. There is a purity of design. There is a understanding. Like, this is why I think the Game Awards should have, like, a design category. Because a game like Ooh fits so beautifully into a space that it cannot be fucking given Voice Actor of the Year or fucking Best Graphics Technical, you know? It's a game that is just about how its creator thinks about space and how that space can be manipulated and how you use these very minimal tools to solve puzzles that on the surface seem simple but in reality are mind-bending. It is unbelievable in its attention to detail, its minuscule little focus on the pixel, on every aspect of a room and how you are positioned and you can place your bombs and move your character. It is unbelievable. I think Ooh really is why I love video games. It's a game that is just about the purity of design, of understanding a space and using knowledge that you acquire through doing to then inform how you get through another area. It's the very definition of Metroidvania, where you take a thing from somewhere, apply it to your brain, and it works somewhere else on the map. It is incredible. Of all the games on this list, this is the one I most strongly recommend people check out. Number 3 is Hades 2. Hades 2 is a very interesting video game. It's a sequel from a studio who doesn't do sequels, and so inherently has something to prove. As someone for whom Hades is one of their favorite games ever made, I think Hades 2 obviously had a lot of challenges, and I think it meets most of them. In regards to how it feels and plays, it's immaculate. It is unbelievably smooth and filled with interesting weapons and boon combinations. The fact that there are 2 routes as opposed to just one, the way in which it is kind of musically structured, the fucking boss with Scylla, the first time you enter that room and she starts singing at you is a fucking all-timer moment. Equally, I do think Hades 2 kind of falls down narratively. Ending didn't quite hit where I think a lot of people wanted it to, and I think, you know, I enjoyed a lot of the writing, the moment to moment, but ultimately I think the higher stakes of the story and the way it was portrayed meant that it felt like you had less of a connection to it. That said, I have put 70 hours into this video game, half of that last year in early access and half of that this, and I'm not stopping anytime soon. There is so much more. The epilogue, all the things going on afterwards, it's just fucking fantastic. It just feels incredible and looks amazing and is just the perfect thing to boot up on a Steam Deck or a Switch and just to lose an hour to. I think Hades 2 loses the impact of the first, but comes back with so much style and pizzazz that I can't help but fucking love it. Declare obscure. Number 2. There's a moment I think about with Expedition 33 where it's the end of Act 1 and a thing has happened, big thing has happened, and you go back to your beach area, your kind of like area where you're chilling, there's a fire, people are sitting around, and there's a record player there, and I turn on the record player and I play Lumiere, which is the opening track of the game. It's a track that you hear at the beginning, but I don't think really hits you until you play it later on in camp. And I would do this often. I would be at camp and I would just turn on the record player and play Lumiere. And I did that again in this moment after this thing had happened, and the music is playing, and there are a couple of characters sitting over by the edge looking out to the fucking paintress and the giant thing in the sky. And I just slowly walk. I just slowly walk with my character as Lumiere plays, and I thought, God damn, this is one of the most beautiful video games I've ever played. Number 1 is Hollow Knight Silksong. You know, sometimes you're playing a video game and you realize that it's one of the best things that has ever been made, and you sit there in quiet contemplation of the fact that humans actually made this. They had their brains, and inside it they had thoughts about a world, a space, about how it would sound, how it would feel, how it would create a sense of place, about how it would emerge as this fully formed idea. And you cannot help but be struck by awe and wonder. And that was Hollow Knight Silksong. I played this game and realized this is one of the best things that people have ever thought of and made in the history of humanity. And I think that's kind of startling, because there have been many things that people have made, and many of them are very good. And I think this is one of the best ones. And I think that something that we forget about sometimes is that video games are good. And this is one of the good ones. Thank you. There is a way in which going from one area of Silksong to the other is just so illustrative of this cohesion of the world, where sure, the Blaster's Steppes is next to Shellwood, and sure, Shellwood is next to Bellheart, and Bellheart is next to Greymoor, but the transition between those spaces and areas feels so elegant and true that it isn't just a map, it is a world, it is a space that you exist in, a place that these bugs live. The circumstances of Hollow Knight's creation are odd. Who else has 7 years to indulgently create, to make something and not have restraints placed upon you? And the answer is very few people, because that unfortunately is not the reality that most of us live in. But Team Cherry were able to, and I think what it shows us is, God, if we had a fucking world where people could. If we had a world where people were able to spend a decade of their lives without monetary worry to make something that they really wanted to make, what a fucking world we'd live in, you know? And so if there's anything I think Hollow Knight Silksong teaches us, it's that the government should give us all a bunch of fucking money and let's make what we want. Alright, that's it. Hi, again. It's me. Thanks for watching this video. It's a mess. It's a disaster. It doesn't make any sense, probably, but I have been sick for about 10 days, and I would like to go lie down now. So I'll see you in 2026 with some more bullshit, I guess. Until then, thank you. Bye.